We're back. We're back.
It's been a little bit. There's been a whole no news since then.
Yeah, after the ridiculously long episode 5, episode 6 should kind of be probably... This is probably the least news we've actually had for an episode. Like, there's not much
last
has
episode
happened.
was going to be short.
No, because we always knew it was going to be a big one because we had the Switch 2 stuff.
I think we said it was going to be like 3 hours.
No, it was the opposite. I think you're thinking episode 4, where we said it wasn't going to be that bad. But episode 5 was the Switch stuff. And then Marathon. And then a bunch of other stuff. But this time we have a fair few things to say, but like almost nothing that's going to generate more than like 2 minutes of conversation. So, I mean, I don't really know where to put this, to be honest, because reasons. But the biggest news of the past 2 weeks is also this is cool, but nothing to really talk about yet. Ghost of Yotei, the 2025 Game of the Year, probably, has a release date of October 2nd. It's very funny that I'm saying this with Assassin's Creed Shadows footage in the background, frankly. Particularly since they announced plot details of Yotei, and it sounds suspiciously similar to Shadows. Like, even down to the whole revenge stuff, which is kind of funny to me. I have faith in Sucker Punch. Ghost of Tsushima was my game of the year in 2020. I have no reason to believe this one won't be game of the year as well. And I think it's cool, but I don't think there's anything new to say on it that we haven't talked about in previous episodes. Except for the fact we now know when it's coming out. Anything to add on that, Connor?
I don't think it's going to be game of the year, because Expedition 33 is currently playable. But, I don't know. I'm excited for it, and glad to see it as a release date. I'll play it.
I mean, it's hard to tell for certain if something's going to be game of the year till you've played it. I mean, I always find it a bit silly that people go like, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is game of the year. It was February. It was
I'd still put it in contention.
Okay, but even now, you're already talking Expedition 33 over it. It's like, it's April, dude! Why are we having these conversations now? And usually by the time Ghost of Yotei comes out, it'll be near the end of the year, so
the thing about Expedition 33 is that I really like turn-based combat, and it scratches my itch really hard.
Yeah,
so
it's very much a Connor-coded game. Probably the most Connor-coded game to ever Connor.
Metaphor last year, Expedition 33 this year. You know, we were talking earlier before the podcast about 2020, and I was like, yeah, Wasteland 3 was dope. Cyberpunk was just that good for me. But, like, it would have been Wasteland 3.
Cyberpunk was good, but my problem with Cyberpunk is it had, like, a very shoddy launch state. Like, a very shoddy launch state. And I enjoyed it despite that, but it wasn't...
didn't get that.
It wasn't even in my nomination yet for Game of the Year, simply because of the bugs. In hindsight, I would probably have
many
a higher.
Bugs at all.
I was relatively yucky. I was actually relatively yucky, but mine was still like, there are too many problems
It's my curse. We've talked about before. Games that run really well, I get problems with, and games that don't run well, I'm fine.
And we're going to talk more about that in a bit when it comes to that stuff.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. Which is kind of something I want to bring up when it comes to Yotei, because I will say the whole release announcement for this feels very poorly timed, given I spent 98 hours playing Assassin's Creed Shadows in the past
That's a lot of time.
month. I finished it yesterday. Obviously, the review's not out yet. I'll have it out hopefully by the next episode, but who fucking knows? I have a lot to say, and we'll get into it. Which is also worth pointing out, we're actually doing 2 uploads for this. We're doing episode 6, which is what you're listening to now, the normal podcast, which we're going to talk about Shadows spoiler-free, and then we're also going to talk spoilers on a separate episode. So we're going to do like 2 episodes, like a normal episode 6, and then a special spoiler cast. That'll be a shorter one, it'll be like an hour, if that. But I just want to vent, because it's bad. But we'll get to that. But I will say the whole Ghost of Yotei thing feels very poorly timed, because it's just like they did a PlayStation blog post, which is like, it's coming out October 2nd, pre-orders soon. It's like, yay, cool, gonna be great, I'm excited. But it's a story about a female protagonist taking revenge on 6 targets who killed her family. And you can do the targets in any order. And it's like, this sounds a bit familiar.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to have a close-up shot of all the people with, like, boom, 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 with the bad guy music.
Unfortunately, we're probably not going to get a shot of the main character's ass. Which is a shame.
Just like... holy shit, those are the bad guys.
If you're not a coward, do the hot springs again. If you're not a fucking coward, do the hot springs again. I want to see some cheeks, bro. What the fuck? Worst podcast start ever? Question mark.
I just know that the haikus are gonna be terrible.
Yes, it's me, the revenge woman. You don't get to see my asshole.
That's literally gonna be it. It's gonna be like, that's a tree, that's a rock. Oh, look, a waterfall.
Yo, I will say, I don't need Yotei to be as good as Tsushima, because Tsushima feels like very much like a lightning in a bottle thing. I am actually glad we're doing like a big time jump, because it means we're going to have some different gameplay mechanics.
What time period was Tsushima again?
1274. So it's about 330 years later.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to have like guns and stuff this time, and like other stuff. It's like, okay, cool. There's nothing really to say on it, I don't think, that we didn't say back when we were talking. When we talked about State of Play, we kind of brought it up as like another thing Sony have in the pipeline. And like, the only thing we know about it now that we didn't then is some very, very vague details on the story and its structure, which is actually kind of concerning, because when we get into Shadows, quite possibly my biggest criticism of the game is the whole you can hunt targets in any order thing, and we're going to get into why. But they're doing that. I will say, I don't know whether it's all the targets you can do in any order, or just some of them. If it's just some of them, it'll probably be fine. And also, if anybody's going to do that structure right, it'll be Sucker Punch. I do have faith it'll be good. But apart from the fact of that, and apart from the fact it's out in October, I don't think there's much of anything to say on it.
I will say, and I said this before Shadows came out, that early 1600s is a way cooler time period in Japan than just before, because I think Shadows is what, like...
It's like 1582,
1581 or something like that?
It starts in 1581, but most of it...
Yeah.
We're gonna get into the way they fuck with the year stuff when we talk about the seasons.
But, like, 1600s, like, from 1600 to, like, 1645, that's way cooler, because you also have Musashi in there, and if Musashi is in this Ghost game, that's gonna be so sick.
I don't think there's gonna be much in the way of real historical characters, because there wasn't much in the way of real characters in Tsushima. It was like, this guy's nephew, or whatever.
But I think the difference is that, like, Musashi is known as, like, the greatest martial artist and the greatest samurai to ever live. So it's his time period. He has to get mentioned. You know? It's one of those.
Yeah, but is there anything else? I feel like... Because I'm sure Sony will probably do, like, a State of Play for Ghost of Yotei, probably some point in the summer. And, you know, we'll get, like, a gameplay deep dive. But if I expect it to structurally be quite similar to Tsushima. I know there's, like, more RPG mechanics this time around, but apart from that, I suspect it will be, like, mostly the same. It's gonna be, like, a Forbidden West situation. You kind of know what this is going in.
Well, you also got, in the 1600s, that's when, like, the IGN, like, did you watch the Shogun show?
No.
You really should. You'd really like
I've
it.
heard
but,
that.
like, that takes place during that time, and that's based on something that actually happened. So that is, like, when they got cannons
Yeah.
And they learned how to use
yeah,
them.
There's guns. Well, there's Teppo in Shadows, and there's guns in not Shadows, Yotei as well.
Yeah, you got like Tokugawa Ieyasu, you got, Battle of Osaka.
He's actually mentioned in Shadows.
Yeah, because he becomes the shogunate.
Hattori Hanzo's like his boy.
Yeah, his Hattori Hanzo the cook.
The kata mini game. You know the button press one you do as Yasuke?
Oh, fuck. Yeah.
That's on my screen right now, and my god, I wanted to die every time one of these came up. I did every single fucking open world activity in this fucking video game. Not worth it. Not worth it, by the way. But we'll get to Shadows.
Just real quick, because I've been playing both Oblivion and Expedition 33. One has mini games and one doesn't.
Expedition 33 is mini games, right?
Expedition 33 is mini games. Some of them are good, some of them are horrible, and we could just not have mini games. Like, that's just a thing we could do.
We'll say the one game recently that did minigames well was Rebirth. Like, minigames is like the one good part of Rebirth.
Split Fiction.
That too, yeah. But Split Fiction's minigames were very brief. Meanwhile, like, Rebirth's minigames you can make a whole game out of.
The ones in Expedition 33 are brief, but, like, some of them just aren't as well thought out.
That's a shame.
And it just made me think, like,
it's worth pointing out, it's a team of, like, 30 people, so...
I get what they were trying, but, like, just don't do it. just don't do it. It's the only tweet I have about the game is how much I hate one mini game.
But, yeah, I don't think there's anything else to say on Yotei.
If Yotei has the slashing mini game again, I'll still do it. It's, I'm gonna play it. It's gonna be good. It's a better time period than Shadows. Don't fuck it up.
I'm confident in it, but also I just don't have anything to say because there's not really much to go off other than we know when it's out.
Well, I also wonder if the time period shifts.
What, you mean it's set over like 20 years?
Well, if it's just 1603, not a lot happens, but if they go to 1620, a lot of shit happens.
I mean, most of it is going to be about her story with these bandits, right? Ghost of Tsushima was more... I mean, obviously it was set in the backdrop of the Mongol invasion, but it was a very personal story.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, it's like all the events that happened between 1603 and 1620, like, you could really utilize that.
Ultimately, we don't know.
Even if it is about these bandits.
We just don't know, but we do know that it's out on October 2nd, and that's cool. Yeah,
pretty much.
That was like the one big piece of news we got in the past 2 weeks that we didn't know was coming. And I guess that's a pretty good segue because if you remember a couple of episodes ago, we mentioned that the Oblivion remake was like all but confirmed. And lo and behold, the worst kept secret in video game history, Oblivion Remastered, interestingly, not remake, is real, and it was shadow dropped as everybody knew it was going to be, and it's done very well for itself. It's had 4 million players in 1 week. You
were worried about the shadow drop. I was like, it's Oblivion, it's fine. And
I wasn't worried about the shadow drop per se. I was worried about why they're shadow dropping it. I'm like, oh, what are they hiding? I was like, what are they hiding? Because do you remember that the Netflix, what was it called? Cloverfield, the third Cloverfield movie that was like exclusively to Netflix. Like, they shadow dropped it. Everybody was like, "Oh fuck yeah!" And then everybody saw it because it was like a Super Bowl trailer, right? They shadow dropped it during the Super Bowl, and then everybody saw it. I think it was the Cloverfield Paradox, and it's like, "Oh, this sucks. Actually, this is fucking bad." That's why they shadow dropped it.
Because it wasn't a Cloverfield movie.
It was.
They just put the name on it, give it more. To make it people watch it. I remember that story.
Yeah, but jeez, did you hear my fucking chair squeak?
Yeah, you should fucking lose some weight.
Fuck off. It's a very old chair. I'm moving in June. When I move in June, I'm gonna put this chair into storage and buy a proper fucking chair.
Go to Costco, man. I got a chair from Costco.
They're I'm gonna buy one of those fucking cyberpunk chairs. Or if anybody at CD Projekt Red is listening to this podcast on the 0.01% chance, send me a fucking chair, because I want one, and everybody else that does podcasts in the world has a fucking Cyberpunk chair, so you know.
I like my Costco chair. You don't gotta send one to me.
But yeah, I will say the structure of this is going to be kind of different because, like I said, there's been almost no news beyond the Yotei stuff. So normally, Oblivion Remastered, we'd be talking about and what we've been playing because Connor's been playing it. But we might as well just talk about it now because there's like fuck all else to talk about. So, how's Oblivion Remastered?
It's so good,
total surprise that nobody knew was coming.
It's so good. They did it properly. They just layered Unreal 5 on top of it to make it look pretty again. And they changed some stuff. Like, they changed combat a little bit. They added a dodge.
They didn't change much of it, though, right? It's, like, mostly the same mechanics.
Well, and now there's actual feedback. Because in the original
combat's
game...
combat's, like, the one part of the game that, like, sucked. Oblivion's combat is not good.
Yeah. Because there's no hit feedback. So if you hit an enemy with a sword in the original Oblivion... They just stand there, but in this one, you hit them with the strong attack, they stagger. Just shit like that honestly makes the combat 100 times better. Because it turns into more of like a... I don't want to say Souls, but like... I don't want to say Skyrim, because it's not like Skyrim. It's weird. It's like it's a give and take. Like, I get a few hits in, I have to dodge back, I have to, block or use a spell or whatever. And then, like, you get to the point where you're making custom spells and stuff like that, and it changes combat up so much. I will say, because I haven't played Oblivion in a long time, like, actually played Oblivion in a long time, but I have played Skyrim.
I think
Oblivion's combat...
multiple playthroughs of Oblivion, but, like, I've gone, like, really deep into them, done, like, some of the faction quest lines. I don't think I've ever actually finished the main story, because the main story of Oblivion sucks.
I've done that. I have all the achievements on the original Xbox, like 360. Sorry.
I heard that the achievements are the same on the remaster as they were in the original, which means it's a very easy platinum. Like a very easy platinum.
It's not hard at all.
Speaking of easy platinums, the game is on screen right now. Shadows, very easy platinum, by the way. Very time consuming, but a very easy one. Sorry,
the other game I'm playing is not an easy platinum because I missed a single thing at the start of the game, and now I have
we'll get into
second
that.
playthrough.
I think we'll get into that on the proper what you've been playing section.
But for Oblivion, it's so good. Like from the start, like you're going through that little sewer, you make your character.
Dude,
you go into the
that
world.
moment when you exit the sewers is like top 5 gaming moments.
And now it looks so good.
And then the music kicks in, and it's just... Oh my god.
The way I put it is Oblivion... Oblivion looks like what I thought it looked like when I was young.
I was watching Steven. If anybody's been watching the stream, Steven's like a big friend of ours. He was playing Oblivion Remastered, and I'm like... I think he said he hadn't played it before, actually. I think it was the first time he'd ever played it.
That's awesome.
And I was like, dude, you're in for a fucking treat. You're in for a fucking treat. And I was watching him play it, and he exits the sewers for the first time. And that music hits. And I'm not even fucking playing the game. I'm watching this on a Twitch stream, and I'm feeling fucking nostalgic.
Yeah. It's everything I've done. Like, the only faction quest I finished is Dark Brotherhood, because I always do that first.
Oblivion Dark Brotherhood fucks.
I am not playing a stealth character at all. I took like blade and heavy armor and stuff, and I did the Dark Brotherhood a way I've never done it before, which is like I didn't care about the extra rewards. I just went in like a fucking crazed murderer. And it's so much fun. It's so much better than the Skyrim Dark Brotherhood that it's unbelievable. And I'm like, man, I'm enjoying the fact that like I did the first part of the main quest to unlock Oblivion Gates, and then I just started wandering the world doing stuff. Because like my memory's not the best when it comes to the game, so I forgot a lot of stuff. So like I'm finding things that I've done before, and I'm like, oh, I kind of remember this, and I get deep into a quest line, and I just have such a good time, and then I'm like, oh, 4 hours have passed.
There's certain games that I forget about very quickly. But we're going to talk Assassin's Creed later. I was actually thinking about Valhalla. There's like nothing of Valhalla I remember. Like, except for the fucking Yotei stuff, which we'll get into. Spoilers for Valhalla, by the way. But Oblivion, I actually remember a lot of that game. There's a lot of Oblivion. It's a vivid memory for me.
Well, like I still remember like the arena quests and like I remember the Dark Brotherhood storyline, stuff like that. I'm talking about like side quests and stuff.
Some of the random side quests,
It must have been 15 years since I really sat down and played Oblivion.
I did I did like not like a full playthrough, but like probably like 10-20 hours on 2018, I think. I've still got the VODs of that, by the way. So I was actually backing those up recently. So.
But it's just one of those things where they fix progression a lot in the remaster, where they just changed a little bit of values, so you're not like level 12 and fighting, crazy bandits with ebony armor.
It's weird because like the gathering system in Oblivion, I mean, even from day one, people were saying that system sucks. It's not good. The Oblivion gathering system is bad.
Well, they fixed it pretty well because now
I know
when you
that was like
up,
the one part they really changed, right?
Yeah, you get 12 points and you can put them into whatever you want. You don't need to grind your major skills and min-max in a certain way and have to be forced to play a certain style to do everything.
Yeah, I've heard it's closer to Skyrim's, which is good because I actually really like Skyrim's evidence system.
But it's better than Skyrim's because it's actually an RPG.
I don't know, I can't comment, but I find it interesting that they branded this as a remaster. Because it's a total graphical overhaul, right? It's a total graphical overhaul.
Plus minor tweaks.
But the minor tweaks is stuff that like you could still put in a remaster, right? I mean, there's stuff that, like, there's some remasters that are just a coat of paint, but I don't think a couple of tweaks is enough to. We talking remastered or remake?
Remaster. For a remaster.
Are you talking Last of Us 1 remastered, Last of Us 1 remake, or Last of Us 2 remastered?
Yeah, like the Last of Us 2 remastered.
Okay,
if you compare
that's
the two, there was more changes in Oblivion by far than Last of Us.
I will say though, the Last of Us's gameplay is fine though. The Last of Us 2's gameplay is actually pretty good. So like, I'm not really sure what you change of a remaster because you can't change a narrative of a remaster.
Well, it's kind of like Halo. Like when the Halo games got remastered, they didn't really change anything.
No, it's just code of paint. I mean,
just code of paint.
Those games are funny because you can literally just change it back as well. You can change it back.
But with Oblivion, they remastered it, and then I bet you they went through and they were like, what if we just change the biggest issues with the game?
Yeah, but the thing I was worried about when there were rumors that an Oblivion remake was coming is they're going to change too much. And they're going to have it be... They're going to change so much that all the funny shit, all the stop, you violated the law, all that stuff would just be gone, and it would just become too polished and too AAA.
Yeah, and they didn't, and it makes it way better.
And that's honestly a huge relief to me, because that's what I was worried about.
Honestly, like, I can't confirm this in any way, but it almost feels like, because if you remember back when Oblivion came out, they had to turn down a lot of the Gamebryo stuff because it was almost too advanced. There was quests that would fail because NPCs would hate each other and kill each other across the map and shit like that. That's
actually fucking funny.
And the AI was so advanced that you'd have like hordes of 60 goblins that would just pop up and murder you.
I can't verify whether this is true because I haven't played it, but you have. Does KCD2 have stuff like that where, different quests can fail for nice random shit?
Oh yeah, you can fail quests in KCD2 pretty easily.
Yeah, I've heard that, because I've heard a lot of people actually praise it for that because it feels more immersive.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but I think the difference between KCD2 and Oblivion would be like, in Oblivion it would be something random, whereas in KCD2 it's
kind of your fault, yeah.
It's kind of your fault. Like, yeah, you shot the guy in the face with a crossbow, dude. Like, of course he's not gonna.
I've heard they can fail quests because of like the wrong dialogue choice or whatever.
Oh yeah,
which
for sure.
I actually really like. That sounds kind of annoying in theory, but also it's like your choices actually have consequences. Ignore the game on screen now.
Cyberpunk did
ignore the Assassin's Creed Shadows footage on screen right now.
And it's funny that you mentioned KCD2 because I find KCD2 very similar to Oblivion.
I haven't even played KCD2. Also, just visually, it looks very similar to Oblivion. Oblivion's got a very medieval Europe visual style.
They both have that kind of similar style. Like, it's a big open world and stuff, but like everything's pretty interactive. The NPCs are all pretty interactive. They all interact with each other even when you're not there. Like, they have schedules, they do stuff. Like, it's weird that it took, in my mind, like 20 years between Oblivion and the first Kingdom Come to really get that again. But now that I've played this Oblivion Remaster, I don't think I'll ever play Skyrim again, because this Oblivion Remaster has shown me just how many flaws Skyrim really has.
I'll tell you, Skyrim's a game that I have huge amounts of nostalgia for, and there's criticisms of Skyrim which I kind of agree with, but it's also, it's the sort of game that, flaws and all, I will forever love it. Skyrim is forever going to be one of my favorite games ever made, because it was a defining game for me as a gamer.
I hit level like 7 pretty early on, and when you hit level 7, the Dark Brotherhood guys get really strong. They get way better equipment and stuff like that. And there's a mission where you have to kill the one sanctuary. And I was like, how the fuck am I going to do this? And then I remembered, like, oh yeah, in this game, if I just pick up a poison apple and put it on a plate where that guy eats every day, he'll eat the poison apple and die.
That's some fucking Hitman shit.
So I picked up the apple, put it on the plate, and sure enough, I went and did some other stuff, and I came back, and there's just a fucking corpse on the ground. I'm like, oh yeah. Like, I forgot how interactive you can really get with these basic systems that they had back in the early goddamn 2000s.
I'm going to bring up the sorry to interrupt. I will let you finish. But,
no, go
I'm bringing up Hitman, because I you know, there's footage of a stealth game on screen right now, and I promise you this is not a dig at Shadows. This is actually a dig at basically every video game ever made. But, with time, the more I think on Hitman, I've gone from this is a 10 out of 10 masterpiece to this is a unbelievable masterpiece, and what the fuck is everybody else in the industry doing? In a way, I think Hitman's ruined video games for me, and that's the highest fucking praise I can give it. Sorry, carry on.
Well, it's because of the amount of interaction that you can have in the world
how systemic it is.
And it's one of those things I'm finding in Oblivion where, like, yeah, you have all these interactions. I did a quest where you have to go through these runes and get these little rock things and give it to a guy. I've never done this quest before. I missed it. And at the very end of that quest, you can either give him one crown or the other, give him the other one, and we go down in there, and I'm with this other NPC that doesn't really like me, because we fought before, but, like, we're working together on this one. And at the end, the guy dies, and the NPC looks at me, he goes, fuck, everybody for himself. So he ran off and died in my first run, and then I died, and I reloaded, and he lived in the second run, and we got outside, and he's like, cool, we both lived, never talk to me again. And then I found him, like, 10 hours later, just wandering around, and I was like, man, fuck that guy, killed him and took his stuff. I'm like, dude, I forgot, like, how, like, little things like that, like, there's NPCs that go on shopping trips to other towns. So if you learn their schedule and it's a rich NPC, you wait until they go to the other town and buy stuff, and if you rob them on the way back, you get their equipment.
Yeah.
And it's mind-boggling to me.
Sorry. Mind-boggling to you that a game from 2006 is more fucking technologically advanced than most games today.
And more interactive than games today. Like, I think of the trading system
I'm
in
sorry, I'm
Fallout 4.
I'm trying not to have a dig at Shadows here. But you're saying all this, and Shadows footage is right on my screen, and it is just... Every single thing you're talking about is stuff that I'm like... We're gonna get into it. We'll get into it when we actually have a fucking blog, but...
Yeah, which shows how uninteractive it can be.
Yes!
But it's one of those things where, like, there was an NPC, and I watched him walk from, I think, Breville, and I was like...
Sorry,
wait a second, I know that guy.
It's Bravo! It's
Bravo! Sorry.
Breville! Ooh! Breville 1, 7 Germany!
I was like, I think this guy has good stuff on him. So I went up and I pickpocketed him, and sure enough, he had good stuff. But he caught me pickpocketing, started a fight, I killed him. And I took his stuff. And you know what? I used that longsword that he had for like 5 hours. Because it was a dope longsword. But I also got caught for murder and got into a big fight with a bunch of guards. It's cool shit like that, you know? And Oblivion coming back and being as good as I remember, if not better than I remember, is such a nice feeling. Because I'm like, man, RPGs can still be this good, you know? We just had to do it again. And it really is an RPG. In Skyrim, one-handed is one-handed, and that's fucking stupid, okay? It's really stupid. if I'm good with a sword, that doesn't mean I'm going to be good with a mace. Doesn't mean I'm going to be good with an axe. You know. So the fact that it's so split up in Skyrim makes it so much better, because like I've done playthroughs where I'm more into blunt. I've done playthroughs where I'm more into sword. The different attack animations really change it up now too. Because like short swords are really quick. Daggers are insanely fast. But they do such low damage, you need to have a good enchantment. Like, they actually made the weapons matter.
My counterpoint to this, and like I said, I haven't played the remaster, so I don't really have much of a comment, but Skyrim's world is just orders of magnitude better than Oblivion's.
False. I would give that a false. There's more
Oblivion's
random...
world is full of procedurally generated bullcrap.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of like random things that attack you that are procedurally generated, but like the
Goblin even a lot of
system
the
alone,
forests are just procedurally generated.
Yeah, it's just trees on trees. But like when you stumble across, like I stumbled across this one camp, and this guy's like, "Yeah, there's 2 goblin factions fighting. Can you take care of this for us?" I'm like, "Okay." So I go and I take care of the one, and I left the other because the quest only told me to take care of one. Well, sure enough, that other goblin faction goes, "Well, that goblin faction's dead. Let's take over their cave." And then I didn't know about this goblin war system. It's a whole thing. I looked it up. So now that band of goblins roams around the world looking for other goblins. They fight those goblins and take over the caves. And it's like a whole inner war system, to the point where I saw like 25 goblins walking up the road. Like the shaman in front, war band behind them. And I'm like, oh my god, like they're going to a cave right now. I followed them. They went into a goblin cave. They had a whole fight. And then I came and cleaned up after. And I'm like, man... Fucking Skyrim had nothing like that. Nothing like that.
I don't know.
Everything in Skyrim is so segregated to the part where you're at. There's no interaction between one town to another. There's no NPCs. You can't even pick up a quest by overhearing a conversation, you know?
I will say that's true, but like I said, I'm also very biased towards it, because Skyrim is like the reason I love video games to the extent that I do.
I will say it was really cool. I went to one of the taller mountains, and I looked
Oh, I saw
Skyrim
that. They added that, yes.
Yeah, and you can see the throne of the world.
I think
this is really cool.
This is a good segue to bringing this up, because obviously this has been yeeked for years now. It was during the Epic Games versus Apple stuff that this got yeeked, so like 2 years ago.
Yes.
Which is very funny, because this is obviously nothing to do with Epic or Apple, but whatever. For some reason, Microsoft's Bethesda's acquisition stuff got tied into it. I don't know why. But,
just imagine the Apple lore standing there and being like, what about Oblivion, huh? And we're like, what?
Remember back when Xbox made good games? Sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna do that again.
Well, no. They're not gonna make good games. They're just gonna release the same good game they made 20 years ago again.
Done. Do it. Fuck, games were so much better back then. This proves it.
But, as I was saying, it was rumored as a remake, and everybody has been talking about it like a remake, because the court document literally said Oblivion Remake. It said remake. And then, up until about a week ago, everybody was saying it was a remake, until it yinked on Virtuos's website that it was Oblivion Remastered. Why, you having played it, why is it listed as a remaster and not a remake?
Because they didn't change the core of the game that much. You still have, like, in the goddamn year 2025, you shouldn't have that many loading screens, even though they're really fast.
I heard that the loading screens. Although, I will say, that's... Particularly the loading screen music in Oblivion is some of the best loading screen music of all time.
Yeah. But, like, they have the technical capability to do a lot.
That song that plays when you load into a hound, it's like, na-na-na-na-na.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Or even like
best
the
piece
fucking
of music
cave music
ever.
is. I forgot how eerie the game can get.
I actually despise the caves in Oblivion. They're so bad. That's one thing that Skyrim absolutely crushes Oblivion on. Is the caves. The caves in Oblivion are terrible.
I remember the caves. I remember the caves being worse, but I think now with the amount of fidelity you get, you don't get lost as easily.
They haven't changed the design of any of them, though, have they? Because the problem is the design, they're all the fucking same.
But they don't look the same, you know? Which adds to it.
Yeah, okay, sure. But they haven't changed the design of them.
So, like, I went into the one cave that's just flooded, and there's a lot of trolls in there. And I remember overhearing an NPC conversation where they're like, yeah, trolls don't like water, so if you go to deep water, they won't follow you. I was getting chased by a bunch of them. I can't fight that many trolls. I dived into the water, and sure enough, they all just stood there like, well, fuck me, we can't get them. And they turned around and went and walked away. And I was like, oh, like, yeah, that's cool. So it upping the AI the way they did, because I'm pretty sure they did it, has made the caves a little bit better too. I forgot how hard stealth is in the game as well.
I remember Oblivion stealth being... Skyrim, you could stealth a fair bit, but Oblivion,
Skyrim, if you had one stealth, you could just fucking... You're invisible when you crouch. But, like... Oblivion, like, I have a stealth score, I think it's like 44 or whatever, and I had the Dark Brotherhood armor, and I'm still, like... I can't walk in the light. I have to, like, make sure that he doesn't turn right now. Oh, shit, that's a mountain lion. He's gonna smell me.
I feel like that's actually one thing they could have improved a bit. Like, there's a couple of things about Oblivion I think could have actually done with an upgrade.
Well, if you're gonna be a stealth character, you need to have the stealth kit. You need to have chameleon. You need to have illusion. You need to have alteration. You need these things, whereas in Skyrim, you didn't need any of that. I think it's worse off for it. The fact that you can just be anything in Skyrim at any point makes it worse. Whereas in
I disagree, because I think that gives a degree of flexibility that I really like.
I don't want flexibility.
I mean,
it sounds weird.
I just disagree with that, frankly. I think that...
You can level up now. You get the same... Well, I think you get, like, a little bit less, but, like, you get good experience from minor skills as well. Mm-hmm. Which
the problem that the original Oblivion had is that if sometimes leveling up could bite you in the arse. Because everybody level scales with you.
So that's gone now. That doesn't happen anymore.
Thank God. Speaking of level scaling, we got Assassin's Creed Shadows in the background. I'm sorry. It's just asking for it.
It's horrible.
We'll get it. We'll get into it.
But for Oblivion, like for the stealth, and like even for like archery is a minor skill on my character. I don't have a good archery score. I should not be able to pick up a bow and arrow and start one-shotting goblins from across a cave. Like, it's going to take 2 or 3 shots because I'm not that good with the bow. Even though I got a good bow, it's enchanted, and I got good arrows, I'm not going to be as good with the bow, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I much prefer that. Like, yeah, if I want to be good at the bow, I got to use it. Like, I have to go out there, I have to actually use this bow constantly. If I want to be good with blades, I have to use blades.
What this ended up becoming in reality is every time you were moving to fucking spam the jump button so it would upgrade your acrobatics.
They kind of fixed that. Especially with athletics, because you can sprint now, which is nice. But, like, your acrobatics, you don't need to jump nearly as much to level it up. So I think I've hit 55 without having to, like, jump as I walk. Like, there's other ways to level it up. So they did tweak some stuff, but, like, they perfected the system that they wanted back in the early 2000s, and I think that core RPG system is the best in any Elder Scrolls game, and that includes Morrowind, my baby. But like, I much prefer the fact that you
Morrowind, I feel, is one that like actually needs a full remake. I feel like you couldn't do this with Morrowind. You'd have to do a full remake.
Yeah, well, with Morrowind, it was even more limited, where like the stuff that you picked at the start, that was your character. You couldn't branch out. If you did certain quests, it locked you out of other quests, right? Like, that's how it worked.
Also the loading screens.
Even guild quests. You couldn't do all the guild quests in one playthrough, and that's why if you hit pause in Morrowind, at the top it says new game.
Actually, we're talking about guild quests. One thing that actually kind of pisses me off in games like Starfield is you could do fucking every fucking guild quest you can do. The choices don't matter. I will say I actually do kind of like the fact that in
Morrowind that it locks you out.
Not necessarily in Morrowind, but just in some games, like you do some guild quests and it will lock you out from others. You can't fucking play double agent for everyone. I think that's not very immersive.
Fucking Biomutant did that. Where you give the fort to one or another, and it's like, oh yeah, if you give it to equal, it's not going to work out.
I actually remember that, but then I also remembered that none of these characters fucking talk. And everybody just has these meh noises, and I'm like, I hate all of you.
Pre-ordering.
I hate all of you. Worst game ever made. Bad.
10 out of 10.
Awful video game.
I should go back and replay it.
So bad.
But
so bad.
I will say for Skyrim, the thing that makes it a bit better, especially with the guilds, is that like when you finish a guild quest, it's not like, oh, you're the new head of this guild, you're the greatest guy ever, we all love you.
That does happen.
Like,
yeah.
like the Fighters Guild quests, like you're still just a guy in the Fighters Guild. Even the Dark Brotherhood, you're not like the head of the Dark Brotherhood.
Here's the thing: everything you say about Skyrim is true, but I also don't fucking care because it's my game.
Why the fuck? This random vagabond that just showed up, level 1, wearing iron armor. You do like 5 quests, and like you're the head of the brothers, the Battle Brothers, or whatever the fuck they were called. What was the Fighters Guild thing in Skyrim?
I don't fucking remember. It was something like that. Was it just the
it's
Brotherhood?
like, yeah, you're...
Did they just call it the Brotherhood?
No, I don't think it was... Hold on, I'm misremembering. Skyrim factions. Okay, you think it would show up here. It wasn't the Blades. Companions.
Oh yeah,
It was the Companions.
That was the worst
like,
quest line in Skyrim.
You're now the head of the Companions, or like you walk into the Thieves Guild.
The Thieves Guild one was pretty fun. Like, that was actually one of my favorite quest lines in Skyrim.
Yeah, but you do a couple quests and they're like, congratulations, you're the head of the Thieves Guild. In Skyrim, there really isn't a head of the Thieves Guild. There's the Grey Fox, and he gives missions, but like at the end, because I'm remembering you get the Grey Fox cowl. It's not like you're the head of the Thieves Guild. You're just a thief who happens to also be the Grey Fox.
Here's the thing.
You know?
All your criticisms of Skyrim here are totally valid. But counterpoint, I don't fucking care.
You can become the head of the College of Winterhold without any magic.
That's true, but it's also perfect. And
it's not.
It's not.
It's
perfect.
It's so bad.
And I am. It's not bad. Come on, Skyrim's not a bad game. Don't be ridiculous.
Guild quest systems in Skyrim are bad, and the RPG systems in Skyrim are really bad. Skyrim's a great game. I really like Skyrim, but Skyrim is not a good RPG. Skyrim is a good action game that pretends to be an RPG.
Listen, there's parts of Skyrim's, because, I mean, when you're saying about RPG and leveling systems, I think part of being a good RPG is freedom and flexibility, which Skyrim does offer you. I do
flexibility to a point. In Cyberpunk, you can't be the best swordsman in the world while being the best gunman in the world while being the best hacker in the world.
Yeah, you can do like 2 of the 3.
Like, you still have to specialize. You still have to lean into one thing.
I think part of that is true, but I think in Skyrim you also just end up naturally specializing in whatever you use the most. So...
Yeah, but in Skyrim, the most efficient way to play the game is to make 2 rings that reduce your magic spending on your destruction spells and spam lightning. And that'll grind you from level 1 to level 100
here's the
in
thing.
destruction
Everything you are saying here is accurate, but it's also the defining game of my childhood. And
no smithing in Oblivion?
It may have problems, but it also has no problems. And it's perfect, if you get what I'm saying. It's also not the best game of that year, because Arkham City came out like 3 weeks before, but whatever.
The main issue with Skyrim, in my opinion, though, is the smithing. Because, like, if you're not an amazing smith, you can't craft and forge the best weapons,
that's kind of
and then
true.
you just do no damage. It's like, not having that in Oblivion is such a breath of fucking fresh air. I don't like looting, I don't like crafting. Playing a game where I don't need to... Like, the loot that you get in Skyrim, in Oblivion, is like, you know that you're going to get, like, a sword or something, but it's kind of nice when you find something that you don't need, because you can sell it for good money, and then buy shit that you do need. And then I don't need to craft anything. I don't need to get iron fucking ingots to craft iron daggers to grind my smithing to 100. You know? I just play the fucking game. There's no fluff. And it's so much better. You spend so much less time in a menu in Oblivion than you do in Skyrim. Or in most RPGs. Like, that's the thing. Like, even Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 fell into this. The best weapons you can get in that game are ones that you forge. I get it. Henry is the son of a blacksmith. That is a core part of his character. But when I spent hours trying to find the material needed to craft a perfect sword...
I will say the blacksmithing minigame in Kingdom Come looks very boring.
It's okay. You just have to match it to the tings, and then you get a whistle, and that's how you know you're doing good. But technically, the best weapon in the game, you have one shot at making it. So if you don't get the master smithing on that, you just have to reload a save, and I had to do that like 3 times.
Okay.
And I just hate that shit, you know? So that's what I love about Oblivion. I found a glass longsword. I've been using it for 5 hours, and soon I will upgrade to the next set of swords. When I find it, I find it. If I was playing a mage character, I could conjure up better weapons that I'm going to be worse with, but the damage that you get from the conjured weapons makes up for that. So if I want to spec into a mage is a perfectly viable playthrough. Everything is viable in Oblivion. There's 1 or 2 things that are viable in Skyrim in late game. If you want to beat that Ebony Warrior, you're either spamming destruction or you have a ridiculous weapon. There's no in between. You cannot stealth archer your way through the Ebony Warrior.
Like
you can stealth archer your way through all of Oblivion.
All of that is true, but I think Skyrim, more than basically any other game, is one where I am just completely nostalgia clouded by.
I also love that you can make your own spells in Oblivion. I forgot how fun that system really is.
I mean, there's got to be like a game for you, right? Where like you are just completely clouded by nostalgia for.
And it has absolutely 0 flaws.
Well,
yeah, there's a couple.
Well, okay, I'm talking more like a game that, like, first off, there's no games that have no flaws.
I'll have you know that Fire Emblem Path of Radiance has 0 flaws.
There are 0. Well, that answers the question. That's your Skyrim, then.
It is my Skyrim. That game's perfect.
Yeah, here's the thing.
I hate when people shit on it. I'm like, no, it's fucking perfect. Fuck you.
Well, that's the point. There's no such thing as a perfect game. There never will be, because that's just the nature of art.
No, there never will be.
But
the most perfect game ever was Braid, and the guy who made it such a dick that I don't want it to be good.
Honestly, if I think of the game with the least problems, the most good and the least problems, I think Hitman. I think Hitman 3. Sorry, I do.
No, because Hitman has its own issues. I will hit you with the actual game that I'm thinking right now that has 0 problems. It's New Super Mario Brothers for the original DS.
Fuck off.
Like the first New Super Mario Brothers, there's no flaws in that game.
Fuck off.
Name a flaw.
Mobile game.
It doesn't have the bullshit of the original Marios, where sometimes just random shit happens.
Hey, Super Mario Brothers is fucking perfect. I'm not having this conversation.
Yeah, like that's...
the original Super Mario Brothers is fucking perfect.
No, it's not. Replay it. You can't go backwards, man.
Going backwards is woke.
Yeah. That's good. I like that.
That's a good counter argument, actually.
I didn't realize how good of a time I've been having with Oblivion, because I haven't talked about it with any of my friends. I want to replay it. Too busy.
I really do want to play the remaster. At some point, I'll get time and I'll play through it. That's not going to be any time in the near future, but I'm glad to hear that it's kept the soul and the jank, because I was worried they'd be removing that, but I'm glad that it's apparently keeping that.
I know it's doing very well and people are loving it, because normally at least once a week me and my friends all get together to do something, whether it's like go out for apps or like watch a hockey game. We were all playing Oblivion. That group chat turned into I can't make it tonight real quick, and then I went on Steam and I'm like, yeah, you're playing Oblivion, Alex. Like classic. And I have friends who have never played Oblivion before that are playing it for the first time. And like they've only ever played like Skyrim, and it's blowing their minds. Like the amount of interaction.
That's basically Steven.
I forgot, like I walked through the Imperial City Market, and from one end to the other, I had like 3 quests that I picked up just from hearing people talk. And I forgot that, like how cool that is.
Oh man.
You can hear a rumor.
I think this is kind of a good point to end it, because you're making me very jealous of you right now.
Like,
one thing I do want to mention
about a cave with a jewel, and it's not even a quest. The guy just goes, yeah, there's this cave and there's shit in there. And I went, I'm going to go find that cave. And I found it. Sure enough, there was some really cool shit in there. And I'm like, man, I love this fucking cave, dude. I love this game so much.
One thing that I have kind of seen that I'm not a big fan of with the remaster is everything's kind of got a bit of a piss filter going on.
Yeah, I don't understand why.
It's weird because like that piss filter's prime 2006, but Oblivion is like one of the few games in that era that's actually very bright and colourful.
But the
remaster looks. And there's a mod that actually patches that out. And
yes.
I hope to God they add mod support on console so somebody can do that. Because I don't know what the fuck. It's my one major issue, and it's the one thing that really had me. It's the one thing. Let me finish. It's the one thing that I really was worried about when there were rumors of them doing a remake. It's, oh god, they're gonna fucking turn it into Avowed or whatever. And visual style, they kind of did. It seems off to me, the visuals, in a way.
There's certain cities that look better.
There are, yeah.
Filter.
But there's some that just look worse.
Cheydinhall, for instance, I think that's the name of the city. I might be pronouncing it wrong. But because everything in that town is so purple, and the purple pops so hard because of the filter, that I'm like, man, this town looks really good right now.
But
I was going to say,
that moment when you exit the cave, it's like what have you done?
I still think it looks really good.
It does, but it doesn't look as good. It doesn't look as good.
The filter also makes nighttime and caves look really good. And it makes Oblivion gates look really good. So I see why they did it, but I would like to be able to switch it off.
I hate those Oblivion gates. They're so boring. That's why I didn't finish the main story.
Good at clearing them quick.
They're just so boring. They're so fucking boring.
Because I think there's only 12 variants or something like that of Oblivion gates.
They're bad.
And you can pound through them so quick that one of my favorite things about this game, oh my god, I can mention more.
I know, it's been almost 40 minutes, so it's kind of try and move on to.
If you have high athletics and you have good jumping and good running, you can blitz through those Oblivion gates without having to go through all the bullshit. Because right at the start, if you can make the jump and you can kind of crawl yourself around, you can sneak right up into the tower. And then you are faster than any Daedra at level 50 athletics. So you can outrun them and just book past everything until the final room with the boss, who typically is hard to get by because they have something that slows you. And that's the reason they have something that slows you, is because they knew that if you're in light armor and you just book it past everything, there's nothing they can do about it. So the Oblivion gates are harder if you're wearing heavy armor. And they reward you if you play a certain playstyle where you avoid the fight. So I literally keep a pair of robes that I enchanted on me, and all it does is fortify my athletics. And I blitz through an Oblivion gate in 2 minutes.
So is there anything about this you actually don't like? Because so far this has been an absolute jerk-off session.
No, it's fucking perfect. It's Oblivion. It's better Oblivion. I didn't think they could make Oblivion better, but they did it. If they go and do this to Skyrim and give Skyrim Oblivion's level-up mechanics and RPG mechanics...
Well, it's funny, because the level-up mechanics were the one thing they changed in Oblivion Remastered. Oblivion's level-up mechanics were dog shit.
If they take what they did... If they put the leveling up system and the core RPG system of Oblivion Remastered and drop that shit into Skyrim, Skyrim's a better game. That's all they need to do. That's my biggest issue with Skyrim.
Are we good to move on now? It's been 40 minutes.
Yeah, I think we're gonna move on. It's so good. It's so good. It's unbelievable. Fantastic job, Bethesda, and what's Virtuos Studio?
Virtuos, yeah. They did the remake.
Virtuos.
Not BG Gas.
Phenomenal. Everybody at Virtuos should get $100,000 and a high five from whoever they vote the new pope to be.
Jeez, fuck. Okay, moving on, I think. Last of Us. Season 2. What?
Yeah, the show.
Yeah, the show. I know this isn't technically video games, but it's video game adjacent, so let's talk about it. Like I said, this normally would be in the what you've been playing section, but there's fuck all to talk about outside of what you've been playing, watching, so... I said in the previous one, because we were talking about The Last of Us 3, and how that may or may not happen. And I said The Last of Us 2 is kind of a game I've come around on over the years. I still don't think it's perfect, but it's a game I've kind of come around on, right? Having said that, the few issues I still have, I feel like the show's actually doing a pretty decent job of addressing them. So I'm actually enjoying the show more than I am.
I'm also enjoying the show. I just replayed The Last of Us. We talked about
we talked about the remaster,
podcast.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the show much more than the game, especially because I'm also watching it with like my family, and half of them have never played the game.
I thought The Last of Us HBO season 1 of The Last of Us was great, but I did not think it was as good as the game.
Oh, one of the best episodes in television is from season 1.
If it's the one I think you're talking about, I actually think it's the weakest one in the whole series.
False.
It's
good.
The Bill and Frank one, right? Yeah, I did not like that one.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I did not
like that one at all.
I don't know why everyone loves it. I think it's...
My brother cried.
It's... first off, it's only like the 3rd episode, so it's way too early to just completely ignore the main plot. It's an hour-long side quest. I'm sorry, but it is.
I'm sorry, but the best part about The Last of Us has nothing to do with Joel and Ellie.
I disagree, and I think that's kind of my biggest criticism of The Last of Us 2, but...
I think the coolest part of The Last of Us is the side characters in the world. I honest to God, if they make a 3rd one, I hope it has Ellie is just not in it. Or Abby. I don't give a fuck.
When it comes to The Last of Us 2, because... In fact, I think I should probably put up a marker here. We're going to be talking spoilers for The Last of Us 2. And the show. Of course. So...
Not too much, though.
No, we won't go crazy. Yeah. But I'm going to put up... spoilers for The Last of Us. I'm just going to put up some text. So if you're watching the video, you can immediately tell. Click off. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, I'll have it listed in the chapter as, like, spoiler warning. By the way, regarding the last episode, South of Midnight, I spoiled way too much, so I'm sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
I spoiled way too much, so...
I think we did a little warning, but it was
no,
like you
I
can't
actually
talk
explicitly said I was going to avoid spoilers, and then I didn't. So it's the opposite.
It was very hard for you to talk about that game.
It was so hard because it was so narrative heavy.
Yeah, it's hard to avoid it, right?
Yeah,
I think it's actually easier to avoid it with The Last of Us because we're going to talk about the first 3 episodes.
No, I think it's near impossible. I don't think
we don't.
We would not have an interesting conversation about this without talking spoilers.
I don't think we need to go too deep. I'm not going to talk about the ending.
I mean, we haven't got to the ending yet. We'll talk about it the first 3 episodes. So episode 1, I actually thought was a really weak start. I was not a big fan of episode 1.
It was not the best.
I was expecting episode 1 to end with the golf club moment. That was episode 2. And I think that was a mistake. I think they should have combined episodes 1 and 2 into the premiere. One change they did make in episode 1, though, that I really did like, was that they showed Abby off early, and they showed off her motivations early. I think that was basically Neil admitting his mistake with the way he handled her in the game. Because obviously Neil was involved in the writing.
Changed.
There is, and there's another one I'm going to get to with Seth in episode 3, which I thought was very well done. But, the fact they showed off Abby's motivations very early on, I thought was a major improvement.
Yeah.
Apart from that, not much happened in episode 1. I'm trying to think. There was the scene, the E3 trailer scene, you know, the one with dance. And, the slurs come out. But not much else happened. It's just kind of... My biggest problem with episode 1 is just that nothing fucking happened. It was basically a recap.
Dude, Joel takes that guy out in the show.
Oh my god, it's so funny. It's like, poof!
Yeah, in the game, it's like not really...
Yeah, it's just a get him, bit of shove.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, they changed the Dina Ellie plot a bit.
They did, and that was episode 2. I mean, episode 1, there was a brief moment with Dina and Joel, which I thought was also a really good change, which I'm going to get into. But I think that's actually a good segue to talk about episode 2, because episode 2 probably had the most changes of any episode throughout the 2 seasons so far. Episode 2 changed a lot. And a big part of it is Dina was with Joel instead of Tommy.
Yeah.
And I think that's very good change. Because Tommy is obviously motivated to avenge Joel's death because Joel's his brother. He doesn't need extra motivation for being there. Dina, on the other hand, is basically only there in the game because she's horny for Ellie.
which she's less so in the show.
I mean,
which I kind of
no.
They're doing it much differently.
They're doing it a bit slower, but by the end of episode 3, you could tell she's
in the
into
game.
her.
In the game, it's literally like, yo, let's make out. Let's go smoke weed.
Yeah, let's go smoke weed and fuck, basically.
And it's just kind of... I'm like, okay.
I will say, I mean, they kind of did that scene, the, how would you rate our kiss scene. They did that in episode 3.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's worth pointing out, episode 3... I actually watched episode 3 this morning. Like, I watched it a few hours before this. It's only the first 3 episodes out right now, so we can't talk about anything after episode 3. So,
yeah, because the next episode they're in Seattle, right?
yes, I saw the promo for episode 4, and it's like, okay, that's gonna be like most of Seattle day 1, I think. The stuff with the underground and the infected there, and also the scene where Dina finds out Eggie's infected. I'm not sure if you've seen the ad for episode 4, but they have Dina pointing a gun at Eggie.
Pointing the gun, yeah.
Yeah, so
I watched it, yeah.
Dude,
my mom looked at me square in the eye, and she was like, please tell me she just shoots her.
Oh my god!
Yo! She does not like Ellie this season.
She does not deserve that. I will actually say, because I was saying on... I was a little bit worried about Bella Ramsey as Eggie. First 2 episodes, I was like, I don't know about this.
Not
episode
good.
3, I thought she actually did very good. Because episode 3 was when you had a lot of Eggie's most... Because a lot of it's about her grief for the golf moment. And I thought she actually did a fantastic job in episode 3. I also think what's her name? Isabella Merced, I think, is Dina. She is excellent in this. Like, she is perfectly cast as Dina.
Yeah. Oh, I also say Tommy is like...
Oh, yeah, but Tommy was in the first season.
In the first one, he's still perfect.
Yeah.
There's a lot of casting here. Like, even the guy that is Seth.
Yeah!
Looks exactly like Seth.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, is this...
The one character that doesn't look anything like the game is actually Eggie herself. But I will say, Bella Ramsey is kind of winning me over with episode 3. I thought she did a very good job on episode 3.
Yeah, she did a way better job.
Nice. But going back to episode 2, I do actually think the choice to have Dina be there when Joel dies is a good thing, because now she has her own trauma about that, separate from just being a supportive girlfriend.
Now, they are making changes to the show, so without spoilers, do you think at the end of this whole thing, because I think we have 2 seasons.
We have 2 seasons, 2 or 3. It might be 4 seasons total.
2 or 3. Do you think they changed the ending? Instead of making The Last of Us 3, you think they changed the ending?
No.
I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to say... If you're asking, are they going to kill her? No, I don't think they will.
No, it's not that. I think it's going to end differently. But I think it's not going to be 1-for-1 with the game.
It might not be 1-for-1, because there have been more changes than there was for the first game.
But I think it'll be changes for the better.
I will say, most of the changes so far, I think have been changes for the better.
I can just type in the Discord chat what I think, because I don't want to say any spoilers.
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of going into spoilers already. I mean, I have a big spoiler warning on the footage right now. Let me see that. No.
I think that's how it ends.
No. Sorry.
I think that's how it ends.
No. Don't think so.
I think they have their little chat and then it happens.
Nah, sorry. I strongly doubt it. I don't think so. Okay, no.
I do. That's honest to God, my personal thoughts. I know it's weird for a podcast because I can't say it, but
yeah, no, you can't say that.
It's a theory.
No,
it's a theory. That's what I think is going to happen.
I think that theory is
changes for the better.
Off. I think that theory is very off. But I will be very surprised if that happens. But going back to what we were saying, I do like the change for Dina. There's a scene in episode 1 where she has like a bit of a moment with Joel. Where it's like, did Dina really know Joel in the game? If so, they never really talked about it.
Yeah, like not at all.
Because this gives Dina some motivation. Because now she's.
Did they talk in the game?
Don't think so. Don't think they ever met.
I don't
Not
think
in game anyway. They probably did at some point over the 5 years. Joel mentions Dina in a flashback. The one at the resort.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a resort. It's like a hotel. It's the second of the 2 flashbacks.
Yes.
He mentions Dina because he's basically saying, are you and Dina a thing? So he knows who Dina is, but I don't think it's
he knows her.
But she's just like a member of the town. Obviously, soon after that, the whole relationship between Joel and Eki becomes fractured. Because, you know.
Also, did they changed the psychiatrist? I might be remembering the game wrong, man.
Gail's a completely new
psychiatrist.
character. She wasn't in the game at all.
Yeah, and she was married to Eugene, right?
Yeah, Eugene was just the guy in the game.
Yeah, and
Eugene was the guy with the weed den.
Yeah, Eugene is the one that died of a stroke.
Yeah. No, yeah, Joel.
But in the show, yeah, in the show, they're like, yeah, Joel killed him. Wait, and I had to think. I'm like, did he?
No,
I don't remember.
That's new for the show. But
so, I don't
know. The other thing that they changed in episode 2 that I liked is also the action set piece. I thought was great. The whole thing, and the fact that Tommy isn't there for Joel when he dies because he's saving the town is actually quite poignant.
Is much better.
Yeah,
it's
much
better.
There's a certain poignancy to that because.
Yeah, he puts the town above.
Above his brother, basically.
And even then, when we see them cast the votes, like we still don't know if Tommy voted yes.
I 100% guarantee Tommy was one of those 3. I bet Jesse voted no, though.
Yes, I think he voted.
But it was obvious from the very moment they started talking about that it was going to get declined because, like, it would be a huge change to the story if that was a thing. But
could you imagine?
Yeah,
it 16 guys are going to roll out.
It wouldn't work at all.
Yeah, 16 new characters. Let's do it. Ellie, you're staying here. Ellie, you're staying here. You're going to be in a show about being a librarian. Everybody else, go kill Abby.
Although, imagine if it was approved and then like all those people die in the first 5 minutes, except for Eggy and Dina.
I messaged you this last night as I was watching it, but like the amount of murder Ellie commits,
it's crazy.
I wonder how much they're gonna show. And then the amount of murder that Joel committed, they've commented on, so I assume they're gonna, because they almost made Joel like a psychopath in the show.
I mean, Joel was a
even
psychopath.
Well, even like Claire being like, "You killed my husband." I'm like, when did he kill her husband? After he got?
You're gonna need to narrow it down.
Like, when did Joel? Joel been killing people?
After Jackson, apparently. It was like a while after.
Yeah. So then, like, why the fuck did he kill this random guy?
I don't know. I assume maybe he turned infected or something, and she blames him. I don't know, because if you remember, there was a scene between Jesse and Ellie. Because that's the other thing. Jesse's with Ellie now instead of Dina, which I'm fine with.
Better change.
Yeah, that's another change.
Better change.
I don't know whether it's better or worse, but I think it's just kind of a side effect of Dina not being there because Joel. We still kind of get the radar kiss scene. We just get it an episode later, and it kind of works there. But like I said,
well, also
my opinion on the changes is more so that it's better that Dina's with Joel because it gives Dina motivation beyond just being horny.
It makes, because we're coming up to Seattle, and I feel like in the game we didn't really know Jesse that well, and he does a lot of shit there, and stuff happens there, and in the game it kind of fell flat because I didn't really care. But I think having extra scenes with him early on, even like him, doing the boxing with Ellie, or him, he had more time in the beginning, and them going on patrol together. You can see that they're friends. You can see that they're really good friends.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's way better than how they did it in game. And it almost makes me think, like, I wonder if The Last of Us 2, when it came out, Neil sat down at his desk and he's like, fuck, I should have changed this small thing.
There's a few things that are changed, and it's like, I wonder if it's Neil second-guessing himself a bit. Which is, by the way...
I wonder, yeah.
Because Neil is creatively involved in the show. Craig Mazin is the lead writer, but he's working in collaboration with Druckmann. If Druckmann didn't want something changed, it would not be getting changed.
Yeah, honest to God, I think he approved these changes.
Like, oh yeah, absolutely.
Make it better.
I do not have a shadow of a doubt.
And when did The Last of Us come out?
2020.
Come out? It's like 2020,
Which
right?
Yeah, so he's had horrible timing.
He's had like 5 years to really think on this plot. And he's like, okay, I think I know the minor alterations I can get to make people not be as pissed off.
Yeah. And
I'm enjoying it way more than the game. We've said it before, like 10 minutes ago.
The other thing I want to talk about episode 2 before we go on to last night's episode, the golf club scene itself, I think there is one change they made that I did not like, which was the lighting feels way too bright. And it should have been in a basement. I don't know why. It seems almost too cheery, the lighting in the room. Because in The Last of Us 2, it happens in like a dark, dingy basement, and it really sets the tone.
I think I can argue of why it's better.
Go on.
Because it's more hurtful for Joel, because not only is he getting beaten to death, but he's watching Jackson burn as it happens.
True. Yeah. Okay, fair. That's a valid counterpoint.
So, like, all he wants is to go back there, and he thought that these people were going to help him. And then he's like, I can't go back there. Holy fuck, Ellie's there. Tommy's there. Like, all these people are there.
That was a gun to Dina's head.
And then gun to Dina's head. And then when Ellie comes in at the end, you can almost see relief on his face. Like, thank God you're not in Jackson right now. Because he's already heard them say...
that, but you're actually onto something here. Yeah.
Yeah, he already heard them say, we're only here for you. We're not going to kill anybody else.
Yeah, because...
So when he sees Ellie...
It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, he's like... It's like, thank God you're not in Jackson right now, because I'm not there to protect you.
The other change they made is Abby finds out Joel's name because Dina says it in the heat of battle. That is so much better. One of my biggest criticisms of The Last of Us 2 was the way that Joel just gave out his name to these fucking strangers.
It's also still a little silly. What if there was 2 Joels?
Oh, come on. No, if there was 2 Joels, they were just gonna kill him. Let's be real.
I still, for the love of God, I wish there was, like, a parody where, like, she's beating this poor man to death.
Wrong
and she
Joel.
goes, she's like, that's for the Fireflies. And he just goes, what are the Fireflies? And she's like...
Well, actually,
like,
to be fair, like, everybody in the Last of Us world knows who the Fireflies are.
Yeah, no, it's the Fireflies. But it would have been so funny if, like, when she asked him the question, like, when was the last time we saw the Fireflies? He's like,
never.
I don't know, in Boston?
Well, to be fair, Joel was in Boston, so that's not a particularly good...
Yeah, he's like, I don't know, man. I haven't seen him in a hot minute. Why, what's up? They would have been like, oh, okay.
But no, I think it's much better, because obviously she's just hunting for a guy named Joel. She doesn't know anything else about him, so...
Honest to God, I think the show is going to really fix the issues I had with the game.
Particularly with the scene in the game when it's like, oh, hey, my name's Joel, by the way. Hey, sup. It's like...
Yeah, sup.
That was dumb. And I'm glad that they changed that, because nobody tells her. She overhears Dina calling out to him saying Joel.
Yeah.
That's
and then
so
her
much
whole
better.
Demeanor changes.
Yeah. And another thing I want to say, Caitlin Dever, what a performance in episode 2 especially. Because I don't think she actually shows up in episode 3 at all. I don't think she's in the episode.
Nope.
Which, by the way,
she's not.
Great choice, because at that point, the focus needs to be on Ellie, right?
Yeah.
Pacing for that's basically perfect. There was one change they made to episode 3, which I also thought was good, but I'll get to it. But what a performance by Caitlin. Is it Caitlin Dever or Caitlin Dever? I think it's Caitlin Dever. Devere? Yeah. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Dever.
Incredible. Like, give her the Emmy now.
Yeah.
She was phenomenal.
God, she's really good. She should have been Ellie, but she's really good. She looks just like Ellie.
But one of the biggest criticisms, I found it hard to empathize with Abby because of how comically big she was. And that sounds bad out of context, but I found it hard to empathize with this character because she looked so ridiculous.
Like Wonder Woman.
She looks like Wonder Woman in a world where it would be almost impossible to look like that as a woman.
Yeah. Like, I know I have female friends in the military that go through military training regimen, and they are not as jacked.
No, they look like show Abby.
Like, yeah, like... And yeah, they look like show Abby.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. I have a friend in the RCMP. She can probably lift me over her head, and she is not as comically muscly as the game.
And this is not me saying that, oh, show Abby is better than the game because Caitlin DeVere is hot or something. I mean, she is.
I mean, she is really pretty.
but that's not the point here. It's more specifically her performance, and I think her performance is just... And this is not a critique against Yora Beatty, by the way. I actually thought her voice acting in The Last of Us 2 was pretty great. The performances across the board in The Last of Us 2 were pretty great. But...
Well, I think it also comes down to character design.
Yeah, it's character design, but also just... Caitlin DeVere's performance, even just in the eyes, when she finds out it's Joel, when she's torturing Joel.
Well, Lord knows, you know why the performance is so good, right?
Yeah, I messaged you that. Scene, the golf scene, was filmed 3 days after her mother's funeral. And given the whole thing is about avenging a parent, Jesus, that would have hit hard.
Yeah, so like...
And you can see in her eyes...
Give her the award!
There was genuine emotion in her eyes. And, yeah, some of the best acting I have ever seen in a TV show. It's incredible. And obviously I have total empathy for the fact that, you know, she lost her mother. That's awful. And
she lost her mother, and then she's also playing one of the most hated characters.
How the fuck... part of me is like, how were you even able to do that at that moment, during that part of your grief? It's just... I don't know. I can't imagine.
Well, it's the old actor saying, use it or lose it, right?
Yeah, but, moving on to episode 3. The big change that they made, because episode 3 played pretty close to the game at that segment. The big change was the scene with the scars. This was an excellent decision. The two scenes with the scars. The one where they were running, and then the other one where Ellie comes across the corpses.
Yeah.
And this is like... Because at this point, Ellie's like, okay, Abby's crew are like, they're fucked. And obviously we get to the whole moral... Not necessarily moral equivocation, but moral grey zone we get to later with the stuff with the... Is it the scars? Or what's the name of those people?
It's like Sephirites or something.
Yeah, but there's like a shorthand name for it.
I think they just call them the scars.
Yeah, I think it's the scars, right?
Yeah. I just played this game. You think I'd remember?
But sorry, I might have completely fucked it, but what was the short name for the Seraphites?
Sephirites. The scars.
I've just muted my microphone. Hi, can you hear me? I just muted my mic by accident.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm here.
Scars. It was scars.
Yeah, it is scars.
Right, sorry. Anyway, I thought the scene with that was pretty great because, I mean, obviously it's setting up the whole WOF Scars conflict, which is a big part, will probably mostly be a part of Season 3, but is also a very relevant topic given the state of the world at the moment, which we're not getting into because that's way too political for here, but...
Election day in Canada.
It is, but this is completely relevant the other side of the planet,
yeah.
But I digress. We're not getting into this here. No, not getting into this here. But particularly with Eggy, seeing those corpses, seeing the dead kid is like, at that point she's like,
what the fuck?
We're dealing with some psychos here. And obviously it's more morally complex than that, and we'll get to that. But I think it's a really good point to have that, because it's character development for Ellie, and it's like, okay, this woman's a piece of shit, there's no redeeming her, let's go kill these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
I say this as somebody that, when I first played The Last of Us 2, I was very disappointed. When I first played it, I was like, this is a disappointment. Over time, and this is actually having not replayed it, because I thought the gameplay itself was always, like, pretty good, but it's also such a narrative-heavy game that I didn't enjoy the game overall because of the narrative. Because it's that sort of game. It's the Naughty Dog, quote-unquote, movie game. The narrative is so important to a game like that. But
yeah,
it's a game that I've, like, slowly, not necessarily loved for what it did, but more for what it attempted. And I think the show is succeeding at a lot of what I didn't like about the game. It's making some changes that I think are really changes for the better. And Druckmann gets a lot of shit, but I do think it shows that he is willing to listen to criticism on this stuff, because, you know, a lot of his criticism was leveled at Druckmann, and ultimately he's the one that gets the final say on whether it gets changed for the show. I mean, look, Druckmann's an artist, right? He's going to have these doubts within himself. That's just the nature of the business. And I wonder if Druckmann's like, you know, maybe some of these criticisms are on point. Obviously, I am not justifying the wave of harassment that was directed at Naughty Dog developers, especially after the leaks a couple of months before release. That was awful. It was always awful. Even when I thought the game was not good, that was always bad. But yeah, I do think it's good that they are listening to criticism, and I do think it's a better show for it. Having said that, that theory that Connor has, which you do not know, thank God, because it's bad, that's not happening. Don't be silly.
I think it will.
It's not going to happen. Anyway, we've been talking about a good story. It's time to talk about a fucking dog shit one. And yes, you've got something else to say on this.
On The Last of Us? Episode 3, again, it played it pretty close to the game. I don't know. Seth looks so much like his game counterpart.
There was one thing I wanted to say on Seth. There was another thing I wanted to say on Seth. There's a scene... Well, first off, Seth in the game. Bigot sandwiches is one of the worst lines of dialogue I have ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
It's not good.
It's up there.
And the fact that they did the sandwich scene, they didn't say bigot sandwiches, but he like rolls her eyes at him, and it's like, okay, fine, she's 19, that's how 19-year-olds act. I say that as someone who was one like 4 years ago. So, not that long ago, but feels like long ago, though, Jesus. But I digress. There's a scene in episode 3 during the council scene where he's like really standing up for her. She's like, what the fuck is he doing? But then right before they leave Jackson, he's the one that helps them get the weapons and supplies, and nothing is said between them in this moment except for her calling him she says something to him, but it was like, oh, I wonder why that is, when he said something about friends. Not having many friends.
I think it was his leg.
Oh yeah, friendly fire. You sure it's friendly? Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, I would come with you if I could.
But then at the end there's a scene between them, and like he offers a hand out for a handshake, and she gives it to him. She's like, she doesn't say anything, but there's almost a bit of forgiveness there. Like, I forgive you and thank you for helping me here. And I think that is way better than the bigot sandwiches bullshit we got in the game. Because, Yok, I'm not justifying what you said, but I do think it's good that he apologized and that there was a bit of growth for him and for Ellie as well.
Well, I also think the way, like, what it shows really is, like, that guy has these views or whatever, and then this big event happens and he realizes, like, it doesn't matter if she is...
he was drunk. He was also drunk on New Year's.
He was drunk, but he still... You don't just say...
No, No,
Like,
no,
it's no excuse, right?
No, yeah, for sure.
When you get drunk, you don't go out screaming slurs. You know, it's unless you're watching soccer, and usually it's slurs at the enemy team. And like that's perfectly. You're allowed to be racist 5 minutes a day during a soccer game. 10 beers in. All right, that's a law. Right?
No. First off, no. And I want to make very clear I do not agree with this because unlike Connor, I actually watch football, so I don't want to get banned from matches because no room for racism or whatever. No.
The funniest thing about this is most of the time he's watching English people, so he'd be like, "Man, fuck my own people." But so I think it shows more.
Shit. No, I'm just kidding.
He's
more fantastic. I love him, but I digress.
This guy had these thoughts and these opinions, and like he tried this apology earlier.
It just
where he
didn't work.
Gave her the food. It didn't work because it wasn't sincere. And then all the shit goes down.
Thing. I think it was sincere. I think he was actually.
Honest to God, I do not think it was as sincere. It doesn't feel like it, you know? It feels like he's just doing it more out of obligation.
Here's the thing, in the game, I think it made Aggie come off like a real asshole. Because it did seem like he was trying to apologize. I don't actually agree. Oh, sorry, go on. What do you want?
1 second. Somebody's at my door.
Oh, okay. Awkward silence. If it goes longer than a few seconds, I might pause it. We're back. Alright, sorry, I did pause the recording because he was gone for a bit. Was it a political candidate this time around?
No, it's a guy construction work.
It's funny. But do you remember that happened with I think it was episode 4 happened for me. My Yubble MP was on my doorstep. It's like, hey, you want to vote for me? And I'm like, as nicely as possible.
I'm recording a podcast right now.
Yeah, as nicely as I rolled my eyes, and like I said at the time, I felt bad about it because it was like, ugh. It was involuntary. In fairness, the guy was actually nice because I know politics is like very partisan and very divided, but the guy was actually a nice guy.
Did you get all your candidates or just him?
Just him. Nobody else.
I got all of them.
Nobody else.
Yeah, I ended up getting all of them come to my door.
No.
Which is weird.
By the way, worth pointing out, we're recording this on election day. Both of us have already voted, but we're recording this on election day, so... uh-oh.
Big turnout for the votes. I had like 7.4 million
in advance voting. I did not vote in advance voting. I voted this morning, so... But Connor voted.
I did advance voting.
Yeah.
But to put in perspective, if there's American listeners,
7.4
million.
It's like 20% of the population. Yeah.
That's insane. That's a huge number.
Yeah. But going back to the Last of Us.
Yeah, we were talking about Seth.
I think the Seth scene is a significant improvement. Yeah, I do think he was trying to be sincere. But
I think it's way more sincere at the end because all this shit happens and he goes, at the end of the day, we're all together as a community and it doesn't matter if you're gay, straight, black, white, it does not fucking matter.
Here's the thing. So I do think he was trying to apologize. It's like, hey, shouldn't have said that. Kind of fucked up. With the sandwich stuff. And I think it looked worse on Ellie than anyone else in the game. She was like, oh, bigot sandwiches. It was also just really cringe dialogue.
It was pretty cringe. Also, he brings up the best point at the community thing.
Yeah, which is... I do kind of agree with that, but I also think he did try with the sandwich thing, but I think it shows character development for him and for Ellie, the fact they could have that moment together. Anyway, Seth is going to be completely fucking ignored from this point, probably. He's just a brief character.
But again, the biggest in that community thing when he's like, "Look, we got to go kill these people because they know where we live."
Yeah, it's also
you're right.
It's also also, you know, if you're not gonna stand up for, if we're not gonna do it, who the fuck else is gonna do it? Yeah. But I also think like the counterpoints were true. It's like, do you want to risk good people after bad, right?
You at least send a scouting party, because these guys are military. Like, if they really want to leave Seattle and go to Jackson, it would be a 10-minute fight.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess. Anywho, I think that's kind of it for The Last of Us. I do think it's, so far, I think the show's very good, and we'll talk episodes 4 and 5 on the next one. The next pod.
So, because we want to talk about Assassin's Creed, do we just want to do a whole separate podcast that's just the spoiler talk and avoid the spoiler-free stuff?
I think we should do some... We'll be very careful to avoid spoilers, because
I can't talk about this game without spoiling everything.
Okay, I'm going to talk about it for a little bit, I think. And you can interject. You can interject, yeah. When the game first came out, I started it a few days late. Connor started it before me, so we were messaging, and Connor was pretty positive on it at the very beginning. And then we recorded episode 4, and I had only played like 6 hours. Connor had played like 20. I was like, oh yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I'm enjoying this as much as Ghost of Tsushima. That aged like milk, but I digress. And Connor's like, I'm enjoying it, but there's some stuff at the end of Act 1 that's very fucking stupid. Fast forward to episode 5. I'm like, yeah, I'm at that point. That part was very fucking stupid, but I'm overall enjoying it still. And Connor was like, not great. Fast forward to episode 6. We have both finished the game, and I have basically gone on the exact same journey with this as Connor has, just a few days behind.
Yeah.
Because I am now very mixed on it overall. I think there are some parts of the game that are pretty great, and I'm going to get to those. There are things I have to praise.
You called me crazy for saying Odyssey was better.
In the first 10 hours, I did think that, yeah. That Shadows was significantly better. I will say, on most levels, Shadows is a much better game than Odyssey. In some ways, I think Shadows is the best game in the franchise. The entire franchise. I think its stealth is the most in-depth ever. I think the parkour is the best we've gotten since the Ezio games, because they kind of took a step back after those.
No, Unity is the best parkour.
No, I don't like Unity's parkour. We've gotten into that in the past. And graphically, the game looks stunning! Just stupidly good looking game. I genuinely, multiple times an hour, my jaw would drop at how good this game looks.
Yeah,
So,
it does look really good.
I do want to get into some positives here, because, like, overall, gun to my head, would I say thumbs up or thumbs down? Probably would still be a thumbs up. But it's a very reserved thumbs up, as opposed to, like, after episode 4, and even after episode 5, when I was like, it's fucking great. Graphics are fantastic. I think it looks incredible. Performance is being very solid on performance mode for the PS5. By the way, with graphics even on performance mode on the PS5 Pro, incredible. It runs very well. There are frame drops, but they're very, very minor and very, very infrequent. We're talking like less than 1% of the time. The hideout is a little bit worse for it. At launch, the game was only 30 FPS in the hideout. They've since patched that, which is good, because there's no reason the PS5 Pro shouldn't have been able to run 60 FPS in the hideout. They've since patched that. I don't know how PC performance was for Connor, but how's performance? Like frame rate and stuff.
Performance is fine. I got a 4060 Ti playing 1080p. I had high everything. I had 60 FPS.
Okay.
So you just have to turn off random shit.
It is worth pointing out when it comes to Shadows on the PS5 Pro specifically. By the way, if you're looking for a graphical showpiece game as like something to show off the console and to stave off any buyer's remorse, this is what you're looking for. It looks incredible, and I will say that I have a lot of criticisms of Shadows, but I'm ultimately glad I played it, apart from anything else, because it shows off, yeah, maybe this $700 console wasn't a waste of money. It does look incredible.
It's not a waste. I played this bad game.
Yeah, basically, yes. Unironically. It does look incredible. Interesting to note, the game launched without PSSR, which is PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution. It's basically their version of DLSS, but just, like, enhanced, because it already is FSR, which is basically DLSS. It's just, like, better DLSS. They added it in with a patch. It apparently made the game run worse and at a lower resolution in exchange for, like, higher quality visuals. I kept that shit off, because the visuals already looked incredible and I was getting good performance, so I didn't want to turn it off and risk the performance. That could be totally wrong. I'm just going off a Digital Foundry for that. But yeah, don't have PSSR on, because it looks fucking incredible without it. Other positives, like I said, the stealth is fantastic. The parkour system's much improved from Valhalla. You can't actually climb everything now, which is good. You don't just hold up and you go wherever you want to go. You actually have to think about the world, which is really good. Bugs. We had very different experiences when it comes to bugs. Maybe Connor should start with this one.
It was a buggy piece of shit. The first, 10 to 20 hours, I didn't have much of, any bugs, any issues, really.
Mm-hmm. I will say...
It
was kind of a 20-hour mark where bugs began to happen for me.
I think it's because Ubisoft knew that nobody would make it past that cutscene.
We'll get into that in the spoiler talk, trust me.
And then after that, it's just, I felt the floor a lot. I think I mentioned this on another podcast, but, I felt the floor a lot. Enemies would disappear and get spotted randomly.
Never had any of those.
I would fly a lot.
I wonder if... I had one... I did fly once, yes. That did happen to me.
Mine specifically was I jumped over something and it just kept going. And then I fell, hit the ground, and died. And I was like,
I should have upgraded the roll.
Fall damage?
Yeah, there's no fall damage if you roll, if you upgrade it.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? I haven't taken fall damage in a minute. What just happened?
I think it's worth pointing out here that this could be an issue specific to the PC port.
It could be, but
because I had a very different experience on console.
What's the kid's name at the
Junjiro.
hideout? Junjiro. I had scenes with him where he just...
Sorry, this is completely irrelevant. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just tried to take a sip of my Coke and the fucking lid's still on it.
Kid just disappeared.
I mean, he basically does that in the story anyway, so...
Yeah, but, so you know when, doing the calligraphy together?
Yeah. He
just wasn't there.
That is very funny, but I can't believe... This might have been the dumbest thing I've ever done. I put the Coke bottle to my mouth, and then I realised the lid was still on it.
Classic.
But anyway, no, I did not have any bugs like that. But Junjiro's, barely in the game. There's, some quests you do for him, but they're also, very much go here, talk to him, help him out with something dumb, and then
But you know how confusing that little cutscene was without him in it? I was like, what is this dumb bitch doing? Is that when he draws
the fucking assassin logo?
Yes.
When we're gonna get into the spoiler cast, I am gonna talk a lot about assassin iconography without any actual substance.
So when it just looked like she was scribbling on some paper and then turning and talking to nothing and laughing. And I was like, what the fuck's going on here? Is she okay?
I think...
I had a couple scenes like that. I had one right near the end of the game. I won't say what's going on, but Yasuke just disappeared in the cutscene. So
I had a lot of bugs like that in Starfield.
Yeah, so there's this kind of heavy dialogue with this character, and Yasuke is supposed to be confronting him, but when it would show Yasuke, he just wasn't there.
I think that's...
So...
I think these are all these are all valid criticisms. I'm not going to tell you didn't have these bugs, because obviously you did. You're not the sort of person that would lie about that shit. I mean, maybe you would, but I don't think you would. I do want to say I had a very different experience. I will say the more the game went on, the more bugs I had, but they were almost entirely very surface level ones. There's a quest you do for there's a collection quest which awful, but we'll get into that. You get T-balls, and it's like, you complete the quest, and then you get a choice whether to do, you can, have a tea ceremony with your friends, or you can have a tea ceremony and your enemies there and kill them. And if you do that, the tea master gets very pissed off with you, being like, I can't believe you do this, what the fuck is wrong with you? And obviously that doesn't happen if you have a tea ceremony with your friends, but if you talk to Sendo Rikyu after the tea ceremony with your friends, he will give the dialogue that he would give you if you did the one with the enemies. And it's the funniest fucking thing, because if you do it properly, he will join you in your hideout. So he'll be in your fucking hideout, being like, there is no place for bloodshed in my tea house. And it's the funniest fucking thing.
Yeah, it's the minor glitches like that that really
I had a lot of very minor glitches. A lot of very funny ones, actually. There were a lot of times this game made me laugh because of the dumb shit. Kind of like Oblivion bugs in a way, but it's not as great as the Oblivion bugs. Those are legendary.
No,
but it's kind of
those are charming.
But there's a certain charm to these, I will say. There's a certain amount of I had fun bugs as opposed to Starfield, where I had not fun bugs.
One of the final confrontations with Naue, with one of the characters that I can't mention, the audio bugged out, so I just had no audio. So it was just two characters standing and staring at each other.
Is it the scene that I showed you that clip of me getting mad at?
Yes. Yes.
We will talk about that on the spoiler cast. Good fucking god. But yeah, I had a fair few bugs. I did have 2 crashes. Both of them were towards the end of the game. I also had the power cut out on me once, which is totally not on the game. It just pissed me off. That was on my fucking country, my fucking power grid.
I think my crashes have more to do with my PC.
Did you say 6 crashes?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe the PC port is just bought.
Well, I think, it's on me, because I have 3 monitors. 2 of them are 4K, one of them's 1080p. I was watching video while doing something else.
That shouldn't cause the game to crash, though.
Like,
that
maybe...
No, I think that's a game issue. Given the other stuff you've mentioned, it seems like the PC port is in a significantly rougher shape.
I will say that,
it is also worth noting, though, that Connor tends to get the worst bugs. He always tends to get the worst bugs.
I do.
So do I of Yate, actually. Of Yate, I've had like very buggy experiences, but I had a very solid one with Shadows overall.
I had a bug when we were playing Split Fiction where you weren't moving.
Oh yeah, I think that was server based though. That's probably my internet.
Yeah, and I was like, what?
That was probably not on the game. I did have a couple of bugs with Split Fiction. But I mean the boss, remember the boss bugged out?
Yeah.
That kind of sucked, but I digress. Great game, Split Fiction, but anyway. Compare this to other Ubisoft open world games. We're not going to count the Lost Crown here, which was also relatively polished, but not, like, probably about the same level of polish as Shadows. Compare it to, like, Avatar, Star Wars Outlaws, Skull and Bones, Valhalla, Watch Dogs Legion. I haven't played Far Cry 6, so I'm going to leave that one out. Compare it to all the other open-world Ubisoft games of the last 5 years. Except Immortals Phoenix Rising, because that was actually very polished. But everything else, this is orders of magnitude. From my experience, orders of magnitude more polished. And I can definitely see the 4 months of delays, because this game had 2 delays, from November to February and then from February to March. They have helped significantly. Because I heard this game was in pretty rough shape before November. And there's problems, but they're pretty surface level. At least on console, PC could be very different. Other things I want to mention, music. I thought the music was pretty good. I don't think it was as good as Odyssey's, which is interesting because it's the same composer as Odyssey. But I think the soundtrack was pretty good.
The fight music is still legendarily horrible.
That was bad, but we're talking at the themes, the main theme, Naui's theme, that stuff.
Yeah, it was alright.
The ambient sounds. The ambient sounds are very quiet, but I think that's kind of intentional. It's supposed to be a very serene world.
I will say that
it's not the best soundtrack ever, but it's good.
I thought the soundtrack was okay. and then the game that I played immediately after was Oblivion, which has a
That's
fantastic
not
soundtrack.
fair. Oblivion's like
And
top
then-
5 ever.
Yeah, but then the game I played after that
I've heard
is
Expedition 33 also has a good soundtrack. Yeah.
which has a phenomenal soundtrack.
Yeah,
so I'm like, okay.
let me make this clear. I don't think it's like a legendary soundtrack, but I think it's pretty good.
It just made me think worse of the soundtrack because I'm like, okay, you have a game that was released like 20 years
That's
ago.
fair, but I also
fantastic
think that's a
soundtrack.
very high bar. I don't think it's fair
then-
to judge games on the best of the best.
But then you have a game that was made by former Ubisoft developers
30 former Ubisoft developers, yeah.
that has a soundtrack that just blows everything else out of the water. That soundtrack is 8 hours long. The game is like 12 hours long if you rush through the main
it was like
campaign.
60.
You can just rush it.
Okay.
Not doing the side stuff.
Other stuff to mention, Yote is much better than Valhalla. Like, way better than Valhalla. Valhalla's Yote system is terrible.
It's pretty on par with Odyssey.
Yeah, and I thought Odyssey's Yote game was pretty good. I thought Valhalla's Yote game was bafflingly awful. And I think Shadows is basically ignores Valhalla and basically admits they fucked up with Valhalla, which is good because they absolutely fucked up with Valhalla. I have almost identical thoughts on the skill tree. Odyssey's skill tree was pretty decent. Valhalla's might be the worst skill tree I've ever seen. Like, it was all these nodes for, like, 1% better damage, 1% better stealth, and they would be, like, in the wrong tree as well. Like, you'd be building for, like, health, and then you'd get, damage. It's like, why is it there? And certain abilities, you would just... They didn't unfog the whole tree, so you wouldn't know about certain abilities, and yes, you looked it up. Awful skill tree system. And Shadows basically goes back to Odyssey. It's a much smaller skill tree with meaningful upgrades. One problem, there is a Tanto ability for Nawe that will automatically have you assassinate any enemy in combat. Now, I assume if you have guaranteed assassinations off, this would not instant kill them. But if you have guaranteed assassinations on, it will instant kill them. And I had guaranteed assassinations on for stealth reasons. I wanted to be able to stealth, and if I hit someone on my hidden blade, it should actually fucking kill them.
Yeah, because it's the blade that's hidden.
Yeah. Having said that, this fucking ability, with guaranteed assassinations on, means now I can one-shot any boss in the game. It completely ruins boss fights to the point that I actively made sure I did not use that ability because I wanted to play the game properly.
I used it because I wanted it to be over.
So you know what I'm talking about, that Tanto ability.
Yeah. I was like, man, you just gave me a blessing here, and I just...
Of note, because this is also relevant to the Yote game, I also got a sword with Yasuke, and Yasuke's combat is fucked for reasons which we're going to get into. But he has a sword that would like insta-kill anybody with a bleed effect under 2 health bars. So like, he was fucking like two-shotting everyone with this sword. And I got this like pretty late. It was like a level 54 sword or something. And I think this is actually probably a good time to mention the level gating, because there is level gating in this game, but it's very, very mild. Like,
it's not like Odyssey.
It's not like
or
Odyssey.
Even like Syndicate.
Odyssey had the weakest part of Odyssey by far, except for the DLCs, which was awful, but we'll get into that. We won't get into that, frankly. It's not relevant. Whatever. Odyssey had like the mid part of Odyssey had so much like, oh, you've just done a level 25 quest? Gotta be level 32 now, bitch! That was actually a thing, by the way. It was like 25 to 32. Fucking stupid. And
I found the best exploit in Odyssey is where the shipyard is. There's a bunch of enemies, and you can make them fall off the ship and get ridiculous amount of XP because they were really high level. Mm-hmm. So, like, I left the first island. You can go there immediately, and I just did it for, like, 20 minutes. I was up, like, 41.
Okay.
Shout out to exploits.
When it comes to Odyssey had an XP booster in the cash shop. As such, I'm not saying for sure that this was deliberately balanced to push people towards microtransactions, but it's very sus. And I cannot, in good conscience, say that there's no way it was because of that, because it's very possible that it was. And when it comes to Odyssey, the level gating sucked. And one thing that Valhalla did do better was it had level gating, but it was you could be like 70 power levels below and you'd still be fine. Right. Valhalla's level gating was nowhere near as bad.
If you had daggers in Valhalla, you could be level 1.
Yeah, and or just a heavy axe.
I think I sent you that video of me fighting like the giant wolf.
But it was like 5 years ago. It was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, I was like 30 levels under, and I'm just fucking dominating this boss, and you're like, what the fuck? I'm like, yeah, daggers are
also,
broken,
that was like the most annoying boss in the whole game, if I recall. It's Fenrir, right?
And I shredded him.
Fuck me, awful boss.
That fight took me 2 minutes. And
it took me like 2 fucking hours.
Yeah.
But, no, there is level gating. It's pretty mild. I will say, I spent 98 hours in this game. It's because I did absolutely everything. And this is mostly my own fault. I was doing like a lot of side content up until like the 45-hour mark. I'm like, I'm having a good time with this. And it was around the 50-hour mark I was beginning to feel fatigued with the side quests, but it's like, fuck it, I'll just do all of them now, just for the sake of completionism, so I can talk about them, and also so I can get the Platinum Trophy. Although the Platinum is pretty mild, you probably only need to do like half of the side content. I did like almost all of it, except for the Jizo statues, because there's like 20 of them that I didn't find. And there's no map marker for them either, so it's like, I'm not going around the whole fucking world looking for them. Fuck off. Which means there's actually a romance tied to that stupid fucking quest, which is so dumb, and the romances are awful, and they're stupid, and we'll get to that. But, I had only just gotten to the max rank, level 60, with only like 5 hours to go. Which sounds really stupid and bad, but like the highest level areas, like level 35, and I've heard people have been able to finish this game in about 40 hours. So, there is level gating, but it's nowhere near as egregious as Odyssey, and there is definitely padding, but it's nowhere near as egregious as Valhalla. So in terms of pacing, it's a much better paced game than either of those. I think that's fair to say. I mean, for me, the pacing was kind of fucked because I was doing so much side content, but I do want to acknowledge that was not mandatory, and it's just... Ubisoft games are really bad for people with OCD. Because, it hits that part of your brain. And, yeah.
Once I stopped caring about, like, side quests and collecting shit, I blew through this game so fast.
I was enjoying the side content up to about the 50-hour mark. And I feel like most Ubisoft games just get worse with prolonged exposure. And this one's no different. And we're going to get into why, but I did want to list up some positives. This is story-related, so I'm going to beat around the bush. There is some stuff with Yasuke in the back end of the game that is great. I'm not going to get into anything apart from that, but I'm going to say that there was some parts of the story I liked. They absolutely buried the lead, but whatever. Naoi and Yasuke are fine characters. They're not incredible. They're not, like, Ezio tier. But they're fine. They're not bad. I think they're good enough.
Ezio gets kind of mentioned a little bit.
That... I was really hoping they would, like, do something cool with that, and it was like, oh, yeah, he's a guy... And it's funny, because it's about the Pope. Italy. It's about the Pope, which is really funny in current context. Fuck the Pope, by the way. Sorry if you're a Catholic, I don't fucking care. Fuck the Pope.
That's rude.
Don't care.
That's very rude.
Had to bring it up. Had to bring it up. I'm a proper British patriot. Fuck the Pope. Anywho. Naoi and Yasuke, I think, are fine. They're not incredible. I think the relationship between them is absolutely fucked for reasons that we'll get into.
It's so stupid.
On their own, they're fine. I think on their own, they're likeable characters. Particularly Narwhal. I think Narwhal is the one character in this game with decent voice acting, so that helps. The rest of the voice acting in this game is fucking abysmal. Abysmal. Yep. I've heard it's better for the Japanese and Portuguese dub. Because there's
I did.
Yeah. I've heard the immersive mode is significantly better, which has all the dialogue in either Japanese or Portuguese, depending on who it is. I believe Yasuke would speak both, depending on the situation. Is that right?
Yep.
The English voice acting, which is obviously how I played this, because I am a proper British patriot, as I said, not good. Very bad. Very bad. Nowadays is okay, mostly, but even then, it's not great. I think most of it's down to the voice direction, because when everyone's voice acting is bad, there's probably a bigger problem at play here.
Yeah, Ubisoft's had this problem for a while.
Yes, but it's especially bad here. This is like some of the worst voice acting of the past 20 years. Yeah, it's not improving, it's fucking getting worse.
Playing Expedition 33, 30 some odd ex-Ubisoft developers, and voice acting is phenomenal. So,
again, though, it's probably A, it's different voice actors, and B, probably better voice direction, which is very important.
Yeah, well, no, I think this entirely comes down to voice direction because Charlie Cox, this is his first video game ever, and he's phenomenal in it. And just because you're a good actor doesn't mean you're a good voice actor. Two very different things. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think the voice director was not there.
When it comes to the open world, the world itself, beyond the visuals, I will say I had fun exploring it, mostly because of its visuals. And it's Japan. It's just a nice world to explore. It's a very serene world, and it's cool, but everything is way too spread out. It runs into the same problem Odyssey and Valhalla had, which is that everything is way too far from each other, and there's way too much empty space. It's too big.
It went a little too realistic with it. Like, I was just in Japan, and for as packed as that country can be, there's also such big gaps between stuff.
Okay, but Japan's also probably one of the least distance between stuff countries on planet Earth. Compare it to every other country on Earth, and it's probably more dense.
Like, from one big temple to another, I remember it was like a 20-minute bus ride. And, like,
Okay, but there's, like, entire cities in between those temples. I mean, granted, there wouldn't have been then, but still.
But the thing is, like, in the game, I did that same trek from where it would be to
and it took the same amount of time, probably.
Yeah, and it was roughly the same amount of time. I was like, okay, this is kind of realistic.
Odyssey and Valhalla ran into that problem as well. I just think the worlds are too big. And this world's actually a fair bit smaller than Odyssey and Valhalla.
Odyssey was better.
I don't think
Odyssey
so.
was
I
better.
think it's rough. I think it's actually very similar in its design. The one thing I think Odyssey did better was the boat stuff. I thought that was pretty fun.
Yeah, hop on a boat and you're gone.
You can't really do that given Japan's geography, so I'm not going to put that against Shadows.
Was the worst.
The problem with Valhalla is the English countryside is nice, but it's also very one note. And
cold, wet, and shitty. Yes.
Well, here's the thing: the English countryside on good days can actually be very nice looking. But the problem is, it's all the fucking same. It's the same in fucking the south as it is in the north. The nicest visual parts of Valhalla were Norway.
Yeah.
But again, that's mostly down to its setting. I think having a Viking game set in England was a very dumb idea. I think it should have been set in Norway, but I digress. Whatever.
I think they could have... Well, the coolest part of Valhalla was Vinland.
Canada!
Yeah.
Although, didn't they say in the game it's like Massachusetts or something, which is fucking stupid. Vinland's Newfoundland.
Yes.
So
which is literally called Newfoundland.
Valhalla got that wrong, by the way. It's the USA in Valhalla. It's like Boston, which is fucking stupid. Yeah. But whatever. Valhalla's just fucking wrong. The game is just... Bah!
Yeah, if you want a good Viking story, just watch Vinland Saga.
If you want a good Viking story, Skyrim! Basically, it's basically Vikings. The world itself is fun to explore. However, Yike Odyssey and Yike Valhalla, the structure of it gets very formulaic after a while. The activities vary wildly in quality. I thought the paths, like the running paths for Norway, those were fun. The traversal challenges. There were some tombs for Norway, which were fun as well. There were also tombs made for Yasuke, and they were awful. Because Yasuke's parkour was bad, but we'll get into that. Beyond that, it's mostly similar stuff. It's just forts and, like, timing minigames. Some of those timing minigames were really shit. You saw me moaning about the cutter earlier in this episode. Yeah. Really bad. They're mostly just kind of whatever. I did almost all of them. Like I said, everything except the Jizo statues, and that's because they don't get marked on the map. And I have done everything else in this game, and like half the map is still fogged. Because so much of it is just fucking forest. And I assume that's what some of the Jizo statues will be. And it's like, I don't care.
I'm gonna go walk around a forest.
I'm not gonna do that just to fuck someone. I've fucked enough characters in this game. By the way, nobody cares, by the way, if you fuck someone. But particularly Katsuhime. Katsuhime's like, we like a thing? Are we like a thing? We together forever? And I'm like, yeah. So, naturally, because I had a criticism of Odyssey and Valhalla that nobody fucking cared if you cheated on them, I cheated on Katsuhime just to test it. I don't endorse cheating, just to be clear. But it was to test it. She doesn't give a fuck. She doesn't give a fuck. I fucked everyone that you can fuck in this game, except for, what's-her-face? Mayu, because I don't want to do all the fucking Jesus statues. So 3 fucks as Nawe, 4 fucks as Yasuke. Yes, I did the gay one, just because might as well. Why not?
Because you really want to see it.
It's a video game. It's also, like, it's not even a sex scene. It's just like they look into each other's eyes for a moment. Which is probably just gayer than taking the cock, but I like... Oh, God. But yeah, romances are awful. You fuck someone, and then they either become a character in your hideout that you barely ever talk to again, and they play no role in the story because of the systemic fucking do anything in any order structure of the game is a fucking terminal error, which we'll get to in the spoiler cast. But the fucking... the way they handle romances, like, you'll fuck them and they'll either just become a guy in your hideout that you very occasionally say the most inane shit possible to, because the game structurally can't handle a big conversation that has them impacted in the story. Or like, or in the case of Yei Yoichi for Yasuke, she just never makes an appearance in the game ever again. You fuck, and it's like, okay, she's gone now. Never mentioned again. That's also the case with Rin, another Yasuke romance. So, romance system.
I didn't do any of the romances.
You were on canon mode, weren't you?
There is none.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do wonder, and I'm gonna get into this with choices. I do wonder if they wanted canon mode to be the default. And I figured canon mode was just something they were adding in to please people that were moaning about the choice-based system. Because people did moan about that in Odyssey and Valhalla. It's like, that's not what the Animus is for. It's supposed to have canon. It's supposed to have this, that, the other. And it's like, okay, fine, this is for those people. But the choices in this game are fucking meaningless. And the romances in this game are fucking meaningless. But to be fair, they were in Odyssey and Valhalla as well. I just think the way Ubisoft handles romances is awful. And so is Bethesda's, by the way. But I'm going to use Starfield as an example here. Because you fuck Sarah Morgan... and she is actually... the fact that you could be married to Sarah Morgan, and that does play a role in the fucking story. But Starfield's romances were not good, but they were orders of magnitude better than this, and that is the last time you will ever hear me see something positive about Starfield. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, because at least it...
I feel dirty now.
Before you do, like, a jump if you talk to whoever you're
honestly,
with, like
the relationships I had, both the romantic one with Sarah and the non-romantic ones I had with the others, that was
like
why I didn't want to do New Game Plus. It's like, it doesn't fit the world of Bethesda, which is so character-driven.
Yeah.
But anyway, Odyssey, not Odyssey, I said fucking Odyssey. Shadows completely fucks it. It's not good. But yeah, the open world activities are just whatever. Some of them are good, some of them really shit. Most of them are just kind of, there's one where you go to a temple and you get a few lost pages, and it's just using your eagle vision, which Yasuke doesn't have, but he also kind of does have, which is very odd. He doesn't have it, he can't mark enemies with it, but he can, see objectives, which I think is basically because the game is it's not well laid out enough to have you be able to get to objectives without using eagle vision. So it's really dumb. But, anyway, at least there's no fucking bird drone this time. I'd much prefer actual
my
eagle...
joke.
I much prefer actual... Go ahead, type your joke. I just prefer actual eagle vision to bird drones. That was so stupid in Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla. Jesus fucking Christ. No comment.
Yeah, not having the dumb little eagle thing is actually huge.
That's actually better. Yeah, I much prefer traditional eagle vision, but... It's weird how
after...
Yasuke has, some eagle vision, but not proper eagle vision.
Kind of reminds me of, they could have just done it like Desmond, where he could, go into it a little bit.
Yeah, but I think that also would have just created problems with world design, which I think is the core thing.
He gets it for, a second.
But yeah, you go to the temple, there's, a few lost pages, so you hold the left trigger, and you just yoke the white dots, and you walk up to it, you press the interact button, you do it, 3 times, that's the fucking activity. Who the fuck thought that would be fun? There's another one with shrines, it's exactly the same, except you now sit there and watch the longest fucking praying animation of all time play out. You do that 5 times, and you're done. And, the world is nice, but it's filled with some fucking bullshit, and I was enjoying the bullshit because of the Ubisoft. Sometimes it's just fun to do map clearing stuff, but there's too much of it. And I think my experience was worse for the fact I spent 98 hours in this game. So, don't do that, because there's... Apart from the Kuchikiris, which are timing-based minigames in Naoe, and the Legendary Sumi-E, which are a real pain in the ass, apart from that, you don't need to do all of the collectibles for the Platinum. So it's a very easy Platinum. Speaking of Platinum, there is one Platinum trophy that is missable, and it's the Scout one, because you can play with... The old AC games, old being Odyssey and Valhalla, they had the guided mode and exploration mode. Guided mode, which will take you to within 150 meters of your target, and then you'd have to look for it. And exploration mode was you had to figure it all out yourself. And I've kind of been on record in the past as not liking the whole guided mode, exploration mode thing, because the worlds aren't well designed enough for exploration mode. So, guided mode was just better. My voice is killing me here, but I'll try and carry on. They replaced this with a guided mode and an exploration mode. And which is kind of little bit different. They replaced the whole guided mode and exploration mode thing with a scout system. If you're in exploration mode, you need to manually send out scouts to find an objective. And if you are on guided mode, that function's skipped. So there's one trophy for it, which is missable if you have that on, because whatever. But you can get in at the first hour and then switch it back if you don't want to. But unlike the previous AC games, I had this one on exploration mode. I had the guided mode off. I used the scout system. It is one of the dumbest fucking systems in video game history. I'm sorry.
Why? Why would you do that?
You look at the thing for 2 seconds, and you press the square button, and the game will just tell you. It's so stupid. Why? I was thinking it would be a scout system, you would manually get people to go on, scouting things, and, maybe, like, after a while, they'd report back on, like, stuff about the area, more so than just the objective. But every fucking quest in this game, you just, instead of, like, actually having to look for it, you look at the map for 2 fucking seconds, you see, oh, it's there, you press square, and then the scout system, you send a scout, they immediately tell you where it is, and then you just go there. It's actually worse than the old exploration modes, because it's basically the guided mode from the old games, with one tiny extra step. And I am almost certain, why do I still have spoilers for The Last of Us on screen? That's not supposed to be there. I've also accidentally gotten rid of the media source, my bad. Anywho, it's so stupid, because it's nothing, it's just a menu. It's just pressing a button in the menu. It's such a nothing system. Why even have it in the game at all? Because it's not immersive. You just press a scout there, and it goes, and immediately tells you where it is. You don't actually need to look at the world at all. It would be nice if you could scout that out yourself, but no, it's so stupid. And I honestly wonder if this was a system that was supposed to be more in-depth during development, but was cut. Because it feels like something that was cut. What about you, Colin? Did you have that on or off?
I'm not using no exploration system.
It's
guided, bro.
Dude, you might as well have had it on guided, because it's a useless system, and it basically...
Like, honestly...
It's basically guided with one extra button. It's so stupid.
Yeah. It's... The big issue I had, because I looked at the system, and I was like, this is just going to add more time to my game. You know? Mm-hmm. And at first, I'm like, whatever, that's fine. And then the more I played, I was like, no, I think I just kind of want to get through this. And then I just,
Yeah. To be honest, it doesn't add any time to the game. It's like 5 seconds. It's just, like, go on the button, go on the menu, hit square.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't want to go on the menu and hit X, I don't want that.
First off,
by
X.
the end...
X is the jump button.
By the end, I was looking up, like, how quickly can I get through this? Like,
yeah.
What's the quickest way to get through this? When I discovered, like, we were talking about the ability earlier where she could just one-shot anything, that was a godsend, because I was so done with the game. Like, I was done with the game 25 hours in, and then I was really done with the game 40 hours in.
But yeah, they were marketing the scout system as, like, a really cool innovation in the lead up to release, and it's nothing. It is going into the map and pressing square, and it's done. Really bad. Yeah. What about the seasons? Visually nice to change the world visually a bit. Doesn't have much of a gameplay change, except winter makes you a little bit slower running, but it doesn't affect the horse, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it didn't.
It's also a little bit easier to stealth in winter, but not much. It's very surface level. It's fine, it's fun, but it's not as impactful as even, say, Forza, which is also very surface level, the seasons in Forza.
It's not even as impactful as Assassin's Creed 3.
I will say the season changes absolutely fuck with the narrative at a very key moment, which I'll get to, but not here. But yeah, there's a particular problem with the narrative that they really fuck. Side missions, all over the place. There's a few side quest chains for different characters. Some of them will be romanceable characters like Katahime. Some of them will be, like, people you meet in the world. Like, one of them's, like, your aunt. Those are fine. Those are cool. They're not crazy, but they're decent. Probably some of the better writing in the game, frankly. There's only a few of them, though. There's almost no, like, actual side quests with random people. Like, there's very few of those in the game. Most of the side quests are either kill 7 targets or whatever, which is fun, because, like, it's fun to assassinate in Assassin's Creed. But it's also very kind of just surface level, very junk food gaming. And then there's other side quests that go collect 10 items in castles, and kill 70 bandits in this region. Bad, really bad, very lazy. Yeah. That's all I have to say, I think. Anything else you want to add on side missions? Or anything?
No, because I as soon as I was locked into the main stuff, I just kept
How
going.
much side content did you do in total?
Not a lot.
Okay.
Like a couple quest lines, maybe. I saw a couple things, but man, I don't know. I don't know, bro.
Yeah. What about combat?
It was just so ass.
I don't know about ass. I don't know about ass. Parts of it are ass, but like I said,
I really did not enjoy my time.
You were enjoying it though.
I was.
You were like 15, 20 hours in the first podcast. You were like, the narrative bit at the end of Act 1 sucked, but you're still enjoying it. And then it just kind of fell off a cliff for you.
Well, especially when I was doing the side missions, the amount of glitches I was having just with basic combat and basic stealth. Like,
do you think it's better or worse than Origins?
Better.
Do you think it's better or worse than Valhalla?
Worse.
You prefer Valhalla to this?
Yeah.
Nah, come on, man.
Yeah, I would say Valhalla. But I'm ranking 4 out of 10 games.
Okay, there is no planet where any of those games are a 4 out of 10. Let's be real here.
Origins, easy 4 out of 10. Easy. I hated Origins. Valhalla, I had such a bad issue with bugs in that game that I lost 25 hours of progress.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That was like me with Starfield. Fair enough.
So that shot it right down to the pits of hell. And then Shadows, between the shit story and the amount of small minor glitches and some major glitches that I had, like, I just didn't care. And there's nothing worse in a game than when you stop caring. And I stopped caring. I didn't care about the plot. I didn't care about the characters.
I was out on the
plot
plot at the 20-hour mark, and there was 80 more hours to go.
So there's no way I can give it anything above a 5. And with the amount of problems I have, it's going to kick it down to a 4.
I'm at like a 7.5. And I do want to make that clear that I did enjoy most of my time with the game.
And again, it also doesn't help that the games that I played after Assassin's Creed were so much more polished.
Yeah, maybe it's a comparative thing that's making it look worse than it actually is.
It makes me look back at that. It almost feels like a waste of time now. Like, why the fuck did I even play it?
I think that's fair. Anyway, combat.
You know what?
Well, I was going to say
what actually had that issue was Spider-Man 2. Because I played Spider-Man 1 right after
Spider-Man 2 is a much better game than Shadows, though. Come on.
Yeah, it is.
It is a much better game than Shadows.
I'm saying that I had this effect with Spider-Man 2. Because I finished Spider-Man 2 and I'm like, that's like an 8.5 out of 10. And then I replayed Spider-Man 1. And I was like, oh. Okay, no, Spider-Man 2 was like a 6.5.
I've kind of had a similar thing, but I went from 9.5 to 8.
Like, it's just Spider-Man 1 was far and away better.
Almost entirely due to the narrative, though. It's basically the only thing Spider-Man 1 did better was the narrative. Everything else
I had a lot of bugs in Spider-Man. Well,
I had a couple of like very surface level ones, but nothing crazy. 3 crashes, though,
my favorite
was a game that was like 30 hours long, so that's not good.
One time I lost all hit detection for some reason. So, like, I was just swinging through the city and I hit a building and I just went right through the building.
That happened to me once. I went for a truck. I got stuck in a truck.
I was laughing so hard, dude. I was just inside this building. I'm like, okay, there's no floor here. What do I do? I think I just restart the game.
Yeah, that happened to me once. But no, going back to Shadows, combat. Step up, I think. I think the combat for Norway, and we're going to get into Yatsuge. I think the combat was a step up. I think the combat was a step up from Valhalla, and especially Odyssey, because Odyssey really suffered from damaged sponge enemies.
Unless you were using flame daggers in Odyssey.
I will say, enemies in this were still a little bit too spongy, and spongier than they were in Valhalla. But it wasn't anywhere near as egregious as Odyssey. But it did get worse, particularly in the late game. The more I leveled up, the less powerful I felt, which is a big problem I had with Oblivion, but we'll get back at... We've talked about that already. But when it comes to Shadow's combat, my one big criticism is enemies are a little bit too spongy. And also, Nawe's skill tree has a special assassination for each weapon type. So if you have a katana, it will be a assassination through a shoji door. Shoji door. Jesus, that's a tough word to say. Shoji. And then the Tanto will be a double assassinate, which is very helpful. And the Kusarigama is a rush assassinate, which is also very helpful. So the katana is the best weapon to use in combat, but I basically never had it equipped after the first 10 hours, because I wanted the rush assassinate, and I wanted the double assassinate, and those are better than assassinating through a fucking shoji door. So, the best combat weapon is basically unusable. Which is dumb. The Tantos are really shit in combat. The Kusarigama's a fair bit better. I don't know whether I'm mispronouncing that. But better. And overall, I think Nawe's combat is better. But also, like Odyssey and Valhalla, a lot of the abilities rely on I win buttons. And I don't think there's any bigger I win button in this game than the switch to Yasuke button in the menu.
Most useless thing in the game.
That man is ridiculously overtuned. And this is where I'm going to get into the Yasuke stuff, because I think this is worth pointing out.
He's so broken in combat.
He's broken in combat to the point... I was on normal difficulty for almost the entire game. The only exceptions were at the very beginning when I was trying to infiltrate castles, because early game Nawe is very hard to infiltrate castles. Because if you get spotted, you're basically dead. So I whacked the difficulty down. I also whacked the difficulty down after I finished the game, just getting a few combat trophies because I couldn't be fucked. But that was only a fit 20 minutes. I played 99% of this game on normal difficulty. Yasuke is easy mode. I don't care what difficulty you're playing on. It is almost impossible to die as Yasuke in combat. The only times when I died was either when I was so under-leveled, they would basically one-shot me, and that was only for, like, one specific quest I was under-leveled for. If I was just straight up not paying attention, because I was bored, and I was just spamming square, because 99% of the time spamming square will do the job.
Yeah, pretty much.
And also one boss fight was, like, weirdly annoying, but... It was the... boss fight, I'm not going to be specific, but the boss fight during the Templar run, in Key. And Connor should know what I'm talking about from there, but apart from that, I'm not going to mention it here. Which, by the way, is actually one of the coolest missions in the game, but whatever. Boss fight. It was actually kind of fun to have a boss fight that would actually kind of challenge me a bit. Yasuke... Because the core pillars of Assassin's Creed have basically been stealth, parkour, and in the more recent games, combat. But yes, so in the older ones.
And even then, combat is usually really fast and over quickly, and it's way better if you attack from a stealth angle.
Except for Odyssey, but I digress.
No, even Odyssey, if you're fighting a strong opponent, if you sneak up and get a good hit on them.
Oh yeah, you can build into stealth in Odyssey, but you're talking about combat being over quickly, and no.
Anyway, sorry, continue.
But Nawe, she's very good at stealth, very good at parkour, and good enough at combat. Nawe doesn't feel hard to play. Yasuke is fucking overtuned in combat, and butt fucking useless at stealth or parkour. The guy can't stealth. Like, he can't stealth. He does an assassination, he fucking screams in their face and says, "Face me," which draws the attention of everyone. You can't stealth with Yasuke. Which is, like, really stupid. The only other character in this franchise you couldn't stealth with was Eivor, and that's because it was bugged and broken. And apparently they fixed that in the years since, but Valhalla stuff was fucking broken, they launched. You cannot stealth as Yasuke. It's stupid. And the parkour, you could do very, very, very basic parkour, but he's laughably slow while doing it. To the point where it's like comical how slow and how bad he is at parkour. When it comes to every other Assassin's Creed protagonist, even like Odyssey, and Odyssey's parkour was significantly worse than the others because you could basically climb everywhere, and its stealth wasn't as good because it just wasn't. But you could still stealth, you could still combat, and you could still traverse. I'm not sure whether I'd call it parkour, but you could still move around and get vantage points in Odyssey. Yasuke, the entire gameplay loop is combat. And the combat's so laughably easy that he's broken. I'm sorry, he's broken. And in theory, I think it wasn't a bad idea to have two different characters, one playing to the traditional AC gameplay, and the other one to more the RPG Odyssey Valhalla gameplay. I think in theory that's okay. In execution, I think it's a massive fail. And even the more Odyssey Valhalla sort of players will prefer Nawe, because she can actually move. But in what is good news for Connor, we finally have fat fuck representation in video games. Because that boy is fat. That boy is fat. Yeah,
he's a little chunky. He's a little chunker.
He's a chunky boy.
You know, it's so easy to get fat in a war-torn land, man.
That was the joke I've been wanting to say for a month, but I wanted to wait till I could use it in a context where it makes fun of you. Even though I'm not exactly thin either, but...
I've lost 27 pounds since my heart thing.
Congratulations, you're only 473 pounds.
Yeah, it feels good, man. It feels good.
Fucking Nikocado avocado.
Turns out if you get spooked enough about your health, you make life changes.
Didn't Nikocado avocado actually get thinner?
Oh, all his videos for 3 years were pre-recorded.
Yeah, because he got thin,
and which is because he was skinny.
What a great fucking troll!
And then he got skinny again. I know, dude. He made so much money off it. It's unbelievable.
But yeah, a few other things I want to mention. Most of the stuff I have to say next is narrative, because I think most of my impressions here have been pretty positive. Because most of the gameplay stuff I am pretty positive on. We're gonna get to the narrative, and the narrative's a fucking disaster. So,
yeah, it is. The
spoiler cast is going to be almost entirely negative. This is more positive. There are some negatives I have. Like we all knew was happening, this is, the new Animus Hub stuff, the live service battle passes. The good news is that they're very unnecessary. At no point did I feel compelled to spend anything. At no point did I feel like the game was pushing me towards the cash shop. But it's also just very shit and very boring, and I don't understand why it's in the game. I don't think it's a negative per se, but it's just very...
I love battle passes in my single player RPGs.
It's just nothing.
Can you imagine if Oblivion had a battle pass?
I mean, Horse Armor was basically the start of all this fucking shit, but...
The funniest thing about Horse Armor, by the way...
They put it in the deluxe edition, I know. Yeah, I know, they put it in the deluxe edition.
You can get it for free by just walking up to because the Horse Armor is still in the game as a base DLC. The Horse Armor from the deluxe edition is different. So if you walk up to the guy in the Imperial City and say you want a horse with armor, he'll just give it to you for free. So the deluxe edition literally gives you nothing.
Well, it gives you better horse armor.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I heard there's like a couple of quests got behind the deluxe edition, which kind of sucks. Like new quests. They made a couple of new quests that were got behind the deluxe edition.
Oh, probably for like an armor set.
But yeah, like I said, it's this isn't a negative per se, because we knew it was happening, so I don't really want to hammer on about it too much. I'm not going to moan about something we knew was happening. But it is just nothing content. There were rumors it was going to be a paid battle pass. It's not a paid battle pass as of now. Maybe that's because Ubisoft really can't afford any major backlash against this game, given their financial situation, so they probably took the fucking paid battle pass out. Just made it free. This stuff's gonna tie into all the spin-off games they're doing, like the multiplayer game and the Black Flag remake and Hexe whenever the fuck that comes out. So I'm sure it'll get worse as time goes on, but as of now, it's just kind of whatever. The cash shop in general, bunch of nothing. There's no fucking XP booster this time, thank God. There wasn't in Valhalla either, so they have addressed the criticism on that. If you want to spend $30 on ridiculous-looking armor, you can do that. I don't feel any fucking compulsion to, and it's all very out of the way. So, having monetization in single-player games is shit, but it's the most inoffensive shit possible, basically. It's nothing. This is a nitpick of all nitpicks. What is not a nitpick is the fucking choices. And this is very narrative heavy, so I'm gonna beat around the bush here. I'll get into this more in the narrative. But, this game is marketed as an RPG. And I think Odyssey and Valhalla were both very light RPGs. Right, it had a Yote game, it had a bit of this, a bit of that. You had some choices that mattered, but like, a lot of it was very surface level. Shadow's RPG systems are even more surface level, and I think it's worth pointing out that Connor played this on canon mode. So, which you brought up when I very briefly touched on choices before, but I do want to bring it up in a bit more detail now. There's certain big narrative points in the game where it will give you like a dialogue option where it feels like it's going to lead you to a choice where you can change the outcome. It doesn't change the outcome at all. One of which is, this is going to be vague, but like one of which is you forgive him, and the other one is which you say, I'm going to kill you. You fight him, you beat him to a bloody pulp, and then you forgive him, which is so fucking stupid. And it's like a really major point in the narrative as well, so I'm not going to go into it any more than that. It's bad. Like I said, romance is a crap. Voice acting is crap. One of the major quest lines at the very ending of the game, that same quest I was talking about, blatant sequel bait. I'm not going to go into it, but terrible ending. The modern day, almost non-existent, and part of that's a blessing in disguise, because the way Odyssey and especially Valhalla fucked the modern day, it's almost fucked beyond repair. But it's pointless. There's like a very, very, very brief. I'm not going to get into it, but it's nothing. It's nothing. Beyond that, I don't want to get into spoilers, but the story is bad, and I know Connor agrees with me on this one.
Yeah, I do.
It is a total disaster. Like, 80% of this game is structured so you can do most of it in any order. And that is exactly what they did in Valhalla. And I did not play Mirage, but I heard it's what they did in Mirage as well. It was a huge problem in Valhalla, and it's terminal to the writing here. It is... Every single quest line, some of them are decent. Like, some of them are, like, okay on their own. But they're all very forgettable. And I'm going to ask you a question, Connor. Do you remember much of Valhalla? Like, the individual quest lines in Valhalla, do you remember much of them?
I'm trying. The one where you cuck your best friend.
That was the one part of the game that wasn't tied to that. That was, like, main story. Like, main story. We're talking about the regional quest lines. Do you remember anything from these? You're struggling, aren't you?
Hold on.
yeah. Point.
I've
point
heard
made.
the Boneless.
Okay, yeah.
Was in the game.
But I only remembered he was in the game when you said he was in the game.
He did something, and then something else happened.
I think it's worth pointing out.
There's a fight where you climb a castle.
Yeah, that was something that happened. Again, I'd forgotten all of this.
I don't remember
I don't remember this game
remember
very
the
well.
names.
I don't remember the names. I don't remember basically anything of Valhalla because all of it.
I remember raiding a church, and I remember cucking my best friend, and I remember the bad ending. That's it.
I think all this is worth pointing out because the.
Oh, I took a lot of screenshots.
Valhalla's main arcs, most of them are okay on their own. Some of them are bad. Some of them are really bad. But most of them are okay on their own. But they all just form a mush together. They're all just nothing. They're fast food content. And you won't remember basically any of them after you're done. And I feel much the same with Shadows. There's a couple of plot lines that are pretty good. There's one with a father and son in Harima that's pretty great. Most of them, some of them are bad. At the tea ceremony, one was fucking awful. Really boring. But they're mostly just all kind of okay. You'll kind of enjoy them in the moment and then just completely forget about them. I don't remember half of the fucking arcs in this game. And basically, the only characters that are in the game consistently are Nawe and Yasuke, because everybody else can't be in most of the game, because most of the game can be done in any order. Because of this, the only two interesting characters in this game are Nawe and Yasuke, and to a lesser extent, Junjiro. Junjiro is... but even Junjiro is like barely in the game.
If you put me on the spot right now and ask me, like, tell me the story of Assassin's Creed Shadows, I can tell you the moments I found retarded, and I can tell you, like...
To be fair, that's like 80% of the game.
Yeah, like, I remember, like, the dump boxes. I remember some characters.
The game you found retarded is basically the whole narrative.
Basically, any of the... Is it Shibufuku or whatever the name is? Shibakufu.
We're getting a little bit too close to spoilers here, but...
Yeah, but, like, I don't remember much of that. I remember the ones towards the end.
I actually
barely remember the ones
at the end are the more forgettable ones.
Well, the ones towards the end is just because it's fresher in my mind, right? But ask me in a week, and I probably won't even remember the names.
When did you finish the game?
One of them.
It was like a few days ago, right?
I finished the game the 2 days before Oblivion.
Okay, so a week before me.
Yeah, it's been about a week.
Okay. Worth pointing out that Connor's been playing like a bunch of other shit. He's been playing...
Oh, yeah, Expedition 33 is so fresh in my mind.
Before that. There were games you were playing during
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I stopped playing Shadows.
What was it you were playing?
Last of Us Part 2 Remastered.
Yeah, Last of Us. And was it Ataful you were playing?
Yeah,
no, it was
I played
first Berserker.
4 hours of Adamfall.
It's first Berserker as well.
I played all the first Berserker, which is
meanwhile,
really good.
The only other game I played is South of Midnight. Since I started Shadows, the only other thing I played is South of Midnight, and one other thing which I'll get to later in the what you've been playing section, because it's a bit of a surprise. So, yeah. Only other thing to mention, we were talking about surface level stuff with the scout system. Do you remember when the E3 demo, they really played up the whole lighting manipulation? You can like make things, you could take out light to make them dark. And I was like, oh, this is like Splinter Cell, this will be cool and fun. Totally fucking... never used it. Never used it. It's just...
Yeah, I never used it.
You never need to. The level design never pushes you to do it. At all.
No.
Same with the prone mechanic. No. The prone mechanic's the exact same. You can go prone now. Doesn't fucking matter. You never need to. It's just another tool in your toolbox.
Most of the time.
You sometimes need to do it for platforming challenges, but that's about it.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, I could do this.
And I think that's about it. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I think that's all we can say without getting any spoiler territory.
I do want to reiterate, I'm going to be writing a critique on this, so it's going to be a big, long thing. Might be out by the next episode, might not. I mean, apart from anything else, having these thoughts out there will help me better articulate those for later.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy most of my time with Assassin's Creed Shadows, but it's also a bit of a disappointing game. Because I think it makes some improvements to Odyssey and Valhalla, but with the exception of the stealth, most of them are very surface level, and the narrative is way fucking worse. I do want to reiterate, though, because I have a review up of Valhalla. It was one of the first games I reviewed once I started reviewing games. I gave it an 8 out of 10. My opinion on Valhalla has revised downwards significantly in the years since. It's probably still a 6 or a 7, but it's not an 8. And I want to point that out, and I'll mention that in the review, because I might give Shadows a lower score than what I gave Valhalla in 2020. Shadows is a better game than Valhalla. I know Connor said he thinks Valhalla's better. I disagree. I think Shadows is a significantly better game than Valhalla.
Give it a week.
It's much better paced, despite the fact it was actually longer for me, but I also dropped off basically all side content in Valhalla very fast, and it was still 80 hours long. So, it's better paced. Combat's better. Looks better. And also, I played Shadows on PlayStation, and I played Valhalla on Xbox, and I'm a fucking Sony player. It's a joke! If anybody actually ever tries to use that again to get an argument, that is a joke.
Dude, that's actually a legit thing I've heard people I know say. Or, I forget which game it was, where they're like, yeah, I played it on my Xbox and I didn't like it, and I played on PlayStation, it was so much better. I'm like, it's the same fucking game!
I know, it's just a joke. We'll say it's way more satisfying to earn a platinum trophy, though.
My buddy borrowed my copy of Metaphor on the Xbox, and he got
That's
5
fair.
hours.
Metaphor was well, not fair, because it's very fucking stupid, actually, but Metaphor was very PlayStation coded.
But he's like, yeah, it was okay. And he gave it back to me, and then he went and bought a PlayStation copy, played through, he's like, that game was phenomenal.
Power the DualSense controller for you.
I was like, what the fuck? I don't even think there's DualSense stuff in it.
Okay. Did you play it on PlayStation?
So, I have a PlayStation copy. I will probably not play it, but I have it. I bought that game on every available thing I could get it on.
Oh. Sure, he'll buy the eventual Switch 2 port.
Yeah, they could release it on the Commodore 64, and I'll give them $80.
Did you get a Switch 2 pre-order, by the way?
No, I didn't bother.
Oof.
I did not. I walked into my EB Games and I asked if it was a thing. The guy's like, "No, we only got 9." Like, okay. So I'll be able to get one.
I suspect stock is going to be very limited when it comes out because of tariffs.
I know my friend that's a little closer to Toronto. He got the final pre-order. He was pre-order number 60.
Oh,
my EB Games is tucked away in a corner that nobody knows about. So
okay.
I'll get one.
But yeah, I do want to say overall I enjoyed Shadows. However, someone is to ask me if I would recommend it, I would have more questions for the person that I would be recommending it to before I'd say yes or no. If you enjoyed Odyssey and Valhalla, I would say yes. This is a good game. You should go get it. If you disliked Odyssey and Valhalla because of the lack of focus on stealth and assassin stuff, I think you will significantly enjoy more the improvements made to Shadow's stealth gameplay, but I think the narrative is going to leave you very frustrated because a lot of the assassin stuff is very surface level. If you hated Odyssey and Valhalla because of its open world structure, there is nothing for you here. This is the same structure, open world, as Odyssey and Valhalla. Good to know. How soon, Connor?
10 minutes.
Fuck, okay, we gotta hurry up.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I think that basically wraps that up. So, I guess that means we can't do the fucking spoiler cast.
No, we have to record that a different day.
Okay.
Upload it.
We could do it over the weekend, because I'm going to be gone for a few days. We could do it on Saturday.
And honestly, it's probably better, because it lets you think about the game more too, right?
Yeah. You know what, you're probably right, and it's also going to give me time to upload this, get the fucking timestamps done before
I think the worst part to talk about a game is when you just finish it. Like, if I went on a 4-hour rant about how good Expedition 33 is right now, like, I might feel different
you can do it.
2 weeks.
Anyway, we still got a couple of things to go through, so very quick, rapid fire news. Division 2 is getting a DLC. That's cool. I'm excited. Not much more to say. I know I've just been shitting on Ubisoft for the last hour, but the Division's actually, like, I do actually really like the Division, and I want to play more of the Division. It's only $15. It's only, like, 6 to 10 hours, but I'm excited.
And also that game came out, like, 6 years ago.
Yeah, so the fact they're still doing, like, a DLC for it's pretty cool. They've only done one DLC after year 1, which was Royal to New York, so...
yeah, it's kind of cool.
They did a celebration video for RE4 Remake, and they teased RE9. I enjoyed Village quite a lot, but there's not much more to say here other than it's apparently coming. Probably going to get a reveal with this summer's State of Play. I feel like we all kind of already knew that, so this isn't really news. Very depressing news. Blade Runner from Supermassive was cancelled, which none of us knew was a thing. And I wish we didn't know, because now I'm upset.
Yeah, they should have just not talked about it, because I would love to see a Blade Runner
bastard
game.
decided to yank that, because I would have actually been happier not knowing this, because this would have been perfect. I love Blade Runner, cool. And Supermassive would have been a great fit, but it was apparently only in development for a few months, and then the people that owned the films were like, we don't like this, and scrapped it, so... Some very brief news on the tariff stuff and things, the fucked state of our economy. Switch 2, Trump did cave on the tariffs, so the Switch 2 will be launching on June 5th for the same price as it was initially announced for, which is $449, still a bit too high, whatever.
Accessories are going to cost.
Accessories are going up, though. Accessories are going up. Only like $5 per accessory, but they are going up.
That's $5 goddamn dollars. That's like 80 work hours.
In America, yeah, with their fucking minimum wage. I don't know whether they're going up elsewhere or just in the USA. But it is worth pointing out that Trump caved on the tariffs for a 90-day pause. And he stated a few days ago that he expects they will go back in force after then. So we could see it go up in price again in a few months. Nintendo's not the only people with bad pricing. Sony's upping prices outside the US. PlayStation Plus is going up in Canada. Specifically in Canada. There's a few other cases, but mostly just Canada. People have kind of been like misreporting this as like, whatever. It's actually going up to, like, the same price as it is in the US, converted. It was 80 in the US and 94 Canadian, which is way cheaper here. Way cheaper Canadian. It's now going up to 110, which is basically the same as 80 US dollars. So that's...
There's actually a couple guys using that hack where they would set up their PSN
That's yes so greed or inflation, and more so Canada's fucked
price
economy.
Adjustment.
Yes, Canada... Yeah. It's Mark Carney's fault. Sorry. Couldn't resist. What is more shit is the price of the console is going up in Europe, Australia, and New Zealand. Interestingly, the price of the disk drive attachment is going down to compensate, but the consoles, both the digital and the disc versions in some of those markets, are going up.
This is odd.
People are speculating that is to try and even out any potential impact of the tariffs, because most PS5s are manufactured in China. And China has
tax the Australians.
Yeah, basically. It's tax the Australians because America's a more important market. And that's basically what people were speculating is the case. There's 145% tariffs on Chinese imports into the USA. Computer parts are exempted, but consoles are not. Which is really fucking dumb. Very brief Star Wars news. I know I'm rushing through this stuff, but we gotta wrap up quick, and I still want Connor to talk about Expedition 33 a little bit. They announced the Star Wars RTS. We talked about this as, like, it was coming soon, because it kind of got yeeked. I don't really care.
I don't play RTS
I don't
games.
care, yeah.
I'm not a fan of them.
Star Wars Outlaws is getting DLC. I was pretty mixed on Outlaws. I will probably come back for the DLC at some point. I enjoyed it enough.
Switch 2 port that's going to run at 5 FPS.
Yeah, it's getting a Switch 2 port. We knew that was coming, but we now know it's coming September. Probably going to run like arse, but is what it is. Runs like arse on like, proper consoles. Bungie stuff, Marathon's had its alpha, had pretty mixed reception. I wanted to talk about it, but I didn't get in. They actually lifted the NDA for that, because we were talking about the NDA. It's under NDA, and that's done. They gifted it, so people were talking about it. People pretty mixed on it, it seems. I can't talk about it because...
Looks terrible.
I can't talk about it because I haven't played it. I applied for a code, didn't get one. However, Destiny 2 is also still getting an expansion, which is kind of odd, because we kind of heard that they were stopping that.
A little strange.
There were rumors they were stopping expansions, so apparently not.
People like Destiny, I guess.
The Among Us VR port is getting un-VR ported, which means that it's basically Among Us fit in 3D, but not VR. Cool, I guess.
Okay.
I enjoy Among Us. Probably not going to play it, but I enjoyed Among Us, but I don't really want to play it anymore.
Oh my god, Upward. Dune Awakening was delayed.
Yeah, I will say this as somebody that loves the Dune movies. Awakening looks bad. It looks like the most generic fucking live service MMO. I don't care. Apparently, it had a beta, everyone hated it, and they pushed it back 3 weeks, and it's gonna make no fucking difference. The Remedy Control multiplayer co-op game is coming out in June. Looks cool, I guess. It's basically much...
Game.
I think it'll probably be one of the better multiplayer games, because Remedy are a good studio, but I don't have much of an opinion on it. I feel like I need to play it to get much of an opinion. Quickly wrapping up things. The new Skate, which is apparently still a bit of a ways away, that's not going to have an offline mode, so always online.
They might cave. We never know.
Yeah, it's a bit dumb. Split Fiction's getting a movie. We've already talked about why that's a fucking stupid idea.
That's a stupid idea.
Sydney Sweeney's in it, though, so,
it's a good idea.
Tits. Speaking of video game movies, Until Dawn got one, came out this week. Apparently it's terrible. Not shocked. Betrayer looked bad.
Game.
Betrayer looked bad. But we were just talking Supermassive, and apparently they did not credit the writers of the game in the credits, and they're pissed off about that.
Classic.
Which is totally fair, actually. Because you're like, Naughty Dog, they'll get it, but Supermassive, no, and that's dumb. It's just the video game from PlayStation. Which means...
If Neil Druckmann had his way, it would be called Neil Druckmann's The Last of Us Part 1 on HBO.
Oh, probably. One final piece of news is that last episode we talked about Blueprints becoming the highest rated game of the year on OpenCritic. It's already been dethroned by Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which has also sold 1 million units in its first weekend. 92, something like that, on OpenCritic. 1 million units in its first weekend. That's not including those who played it on Game Pass, because it is on Game Pass day one. And I know we're kind of rushing through this, but Connor has played it, and I think this is a good time for Connor to quickly give his thoughts on it, because do you have time to give thoughts on Expedition 33? Because this would be a good time to segue into what we've been playing.
Yeah, real quick, the one of the main developers for Palworld came out and said that the fact that they sold 1 million copies plus being on Game Pass, he's like, they made really good money, because the Game Pass apparently pays developers very well.
It depends on the game. I've heard conflicting reports on that. It depends on the game.
So shout out to the studio. They're probably loving this. They probably made
it's great
way more than their development.
But how's the game?
It's phenomenal. It's so good, dude. It is one of the best turn-based games probably ever made.
How many hours into it are you?
I'm probably 15 hours into it. Maybe 16.
Roughly how far into the game is that?
I skipped a lot of the optional stuff early so I could get deep and then come back and do it, because that's usually how I play RPGs. So I'm like maybe 40% through the game.
So we can talk about this more in the next episode when we're Rush.
Yeah. But I will say, like, the music is phenomenal.
Even from the trailers, the music is phenomenal.
Yeah, the combat is really fast-paced, and you need to learn to dodge and parry, which I find very cool.
Yeah, I like the fact
with the dodge
it mixes
system.
real-time stuff with turn-based stuff. It makes it a bit more engaging.
I figured out the issue with the
dodge
I know,
system. You told me.
It was not it was my controller.
It was skill issue.
Turns out my controller that I've been using for a long time, it is the one I got with my Series X, is kind of malfunctioning. Okay. So I switched to my white controller, and now I dodge and parry like a pro. Exploration's really rewarding, really cool. There's no mini-map, which I find kind of odd. I think you should be able to get a map of the area after you finish it, just so if you go back, you know where you're going, because I get lost easily. The characters are really good. The performances are phenomenal. The way you build characters is really cool. I missed a whole system with leveling up, which I feel dumb for missing because I probably just clicked A one too many times and missed it. But I was basically playing the game on triple hard mode because the whole point is that you can find these things to upgrade your characters and give them like little abilities. Like if you use a basic attack, you attack twice. And then there's this other system where once you perfect that, you can unlock that permanently and then choose other Pictos to use. I was just using the Pictos. I wasn't using the augments. So when I had a boss fight, that was like
going over my head. This is a bunch of very technical stuff. Is game good or bad?
Game good. I'm trying to compare it to a game that you would have played here. What's the easiest way to do it? It's like playing Skyrim with no shouts.
Interesting. I'm actually not the biggest fan of the shout system, so that's actually not necessarily a negative. I know I said it's a perfect game, but whatever.
You know how you can just use a shout and it gets you through a situation. It really helps sometimes.
Shout. Sorry.
Like a Fusro Da, perfectly timed, really helps. It's like I was playing without that, you know? It's like I was playing Shadows on the hardest difficulty using base weapons. Never upgrading.
Okay.
That's kind of what it feels like. So instead of choosing, because you choose 3 abilities.
So you said it felt like playing what? Skyrim on hard difficulty?
It's like playing Skyrim on the hardest difficulty with no shouts.
Okay, but it's turn-based.
Yeah, it's turn-based. But the way I'm trying to compare it to it is that you pick 3 abilities, you master those abilities, and then there's another system where you can permanently unlock the mastered abilities, and then you can change the original 3.
Okay.
I never used the unlock system for those. So instead of having 10 abilities, I had 3. Which makes the game ridiculously difficult.
Interesting. But you fixed that, right? Because you...
Oh, I fixed that. I just didn't realize that the system was there.
Which is funny. Any criticisms you have? Any negatives?
Mini games.
Yeah,
mini
right,
games
you
are kind of
mentioned
ass.
How's the narrative?
Like this,
without any spoilers, how's story?
Fantastic.
I've heard it compared to Naughty Dog, which is crazy for like...
I think it's better than anything Naughty Dog.
Bunch of Ubisoft developers make a game and their story gets compared to Naughty Dog.
I think it's better than most Naughty Dog games, if not all of them, to be honest.
I think like
at least from what I've watched,
1 is like basically one of the best narratives ever.
The Last of Us 1 is the only thing I could compare it to, just because these characters are so well written and so well done. That's very
high praise. I gotta get to it at some point. I'm gonna try to, but it will be when it will be.
I tried to say, like, dude, just drop everything.
I know, but I get Tricon at the moment.
Fuck the new Doom, dude. Fuck the new Doom. Skip it. Play Expedition 33.
Honestly, man, I don't know. Do I have time to quickly talk about what I've been playing apart from Shadows, real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Last episode, I mentioned that Rematch got a release date. I've since played it. There was a closed beta, which I registered, I got into, and I did a stream of it. I'll actually leave a link to that stream in the description. I said in the last episode I was very excited for it. It looked very fun from the trailer. Seafood guys, they're very good. I will say the core gameplay fucking rules. It's fantastic. It's soccer, absolutely, but it's more so... I know this sounds stupid because Rocket League is obviously also soccer influenced, but it feels closer to Rocket League with people than it does FIFA. And that sounds very stupid, but if you play it, I think you'll get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But the core gameplay is very fun, but this game's out in 2 months. It's a beta. It's not finished. I get that. Technical state was fucking shambolic. It was not good. I scored an overtime winner that didn't count, even though the ball was very clearly over the line. Different players were glitching all over the fucking place. The performance on PC was shaky, although with a disclaimer that my PC is pretty old at this point and the beta was only on PC. And I was streaming at the same time, so obviously also could be partially that, but there are some serious physics problems with this game right now. Some of the issues are big enough to the point where they are a detriment to the game, and Also, this is a bit of a nothing thing, but the tutorials are downright unfinished, and there's different star ratings, but all the star rating goals are set as 0, which is very funny. I think the core gameplay is very fun. I think they're really onto something here. I think this could be big if they do it right. I think to do it right, this needs a delay. I don't think this is ready to launch in June. I'm sorry, I don't. And it's actually tempered my expectations a bit because of it.
It's fair.
I hate to say it.
They might just need to take more time.
Oh,
real quick, another thing about Expedition 33.
Yeah, sure, go ahead. I've said it when you say it now. I only played 3 hours.
Every character plays differently. So even though it is turn-based, like everybody has their own kind of mechanic. Like Gustav, the main guy, if you build up 10 attacks, you can use Overdrive, which is just a big hit that does big damage and staggers. But there's like the Mage Girl, you build up using whatever. So if you're using lightning, you get 1 lightning element. If you use fire, you get a fire element. And then you can consume those elements to do more damage with different attacks.
I'm sure all of this will make sense if I actually play the fucking game, but right now all of these are just words
my
that are
favorite
making no
one,
sense to me.
There's a girl I just call Female Gambit. She throws cards at people. And there's sun cards and moon cards. You build up sun card stacks, and then you use moon cards, and it drains the sun card stacks to deal extra damage. That is so addicting, and you can make her so broken that I had her doing 999 damage, which is the max damage, like 9,999. I had her doing max damage within like 10 minutes of using her.
Okay.
And it's so fun. But you have to be perfect with her. Like, you have to dodge. She's so squishy. It's unbelievable. But the fact that all the characters play very differently makes combat even more fun. Because when you mix and match your party and abilities and stuff, it's I don't know. I can describe it like Pokemon. Like, there's so much variation that you'll never get bored.
Here's going to be a tough question for you to answer. Do you prefer this or Metaphor?
Metaphor.
Interesting.
I have not finished
Breaking news!
33.
Connor thinks Expedition 33 is dog shit.
If I finish Expedition 33 and it continues at this pace, it'll probably end up being higher on my ratings than Metaphor.
I thought you gave Metaphor 10.
Yeah, I can. If it continues like this is getting an 11, baby. Like, that's the thing. Like,
I'm glad to see you're yoving it, because, I mean, you didn't yov Shadows, so...
They also tackle very different themes, Metaphor and Expedition 33. I think Metaphor was a little bit more on current topics.
I will say, I think Expedition's story is more appealing to me. I think the whole Paintress kills everybody over the age of 33. I think that's just a really cool concept. It's very Logan's Run coded. I don't know if you've seen that movie. It's fucking great. It's an old movie. It's like 70s. I saw it when I was a kid, and it's fantastic. So yeah, that's what the thing. I think we're ready to wrap up now. Are we?
I think so.
Any other thing you've been watching or doing? Oh, by the way, one thing I do want to quickly mention, because I haven't watched anything apart from the Last of Us stuff, but I did go to that hockey game that I said I was going to go to. They lost game 3. Then I went to game 6 because they were unable to close it out again. They lost again. And then they won game 7, so they did win the series. So that's good. Go Colts. However, they have lost the first 2 games of the conference finals by a combined total of 3-1 and then 7-1. So it's looking pretty grim now. And I'm going to game 4, and I might see us get swept, which is really unfortunate. So, I'm going to game 4 on Thursday. I'm also going to go see Sinners in IMAX 70mm tomorrow night. So, next episode, we can actually talk about a movie. Because I haven't seen a movie in ages. But, yeah, I've heard Sinners are really good.
I finished watching Daredevil.
Is it good?
It's really good, actually. I'd say it's probably the best Daredevil season.
Yeah, we had this conversation, I think. I think we had this off-stream now.
Yeah, we did. We talked about it a little bit.
Not off-stream, off-pod, sorry. Streamer brain.
But the wind-up from the start of the show to the end of the show where he's doing Daredevil shit and the Punisher's there is really good. So, I'd say give Daredevil a watch. It's the best thing Marvel's done in 5 years.
I feel like if I was going to do that, I'd have to rewatch the fucking original series, and that's going to take time.
No, you don't. You don't.
Is it kind of separate?
Yeah, they do like a whole time skip thing. Like, if you remember just the base stuff of who characters are, Like, you know who
very,
Kingpin
very
is.
surface level, yeah. Well, obviously I know who Kingpin is, yeah.
You know who Kingpin is, you know who the Punisher is, you know who Daredevil is. That's all you need.
Okay. You gotta go, right?
I do. Good podcast.
Yeah, good podcast. 3 hours, so I was hoping it'd be 2 hours. It wasn't. We had a lot to talk about, particularly about
I went on
Shadows.
a rant about Oblivion.
Yeah, very long about Oblivion, which I thought would be pretty short. Also a fair bit on The Last of Us, and a long time on Shadows, but we're gonna have more. We're gonna do a spoiler cast for this. It was hoping to be right after. Probably for the best that it's not, because my voice is hurting anyway. We'll try and fit it in over the weekend, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm going away tomorrow, and I'm not going to be back till Friday. So that'll actually be good, because that'll be like right when I begin to start writing the critique, so we can actually start talking story, and that might get my brain going for that. When it comes to what the background footage is going to be on the next podcast, I've got no fucking clue, because I'm not doing Shadows again for like the 4th podcast in a row, and I'm probably not going to stream anything in the next 2 weeks, because I'm going to be too busy with that. So you might be seeing Astrobot again.
Footage.
Probably Astrobot again.
Old footage.
But yeah, thank you guys for listening to this podcast. Stay tuned for a special episode for spoilers on Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's going to be significantly less positive than what we've been talking about for Shadows here. But yeah, apart from that, good podcast. Good fun. Not too many news stories, but a lot of stuff to talk about and analyze, which is always good fun.
Yeah.
I love moaning. I love moaning. We'll catch you guys on the next one. I think that's a good point to end it.
See ya,
Peace out,
everybody.
guys.